Jesus Christ, you people suck. Wow. Wolverine wanted to be in this.
Back in the days when we played video games, it was hardcore for the nerdy and lazy. Now things have changed and all our video games are also for the casual and lady.
But that's okay, you know the score. We told you a million times before. Playing consoles, not just games, is in the past. And every week you listen to the best damn internet radio crew. It's the N4G podcast. It's the N4G podcast.
Alright, it's time for another week. N4G Radio. This is episode 672 for October 18th, 2021. It's almost Halloween, y'all. And on the show this week we have Drew.
Oh,
And we have Anthony.
Hello.
And the Wombat is having internet issues.
He'll join halfway through.
No, he will not be joining at all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like his internet is like straight up down.
Oh.
So
I thought he was going to come in sounding like a robot.
that'd be awesome.
yeah.
I'd be 100% down for that. Alright, so I guess we can talk about... before we get into video games, did anybody watch the DC stuff yesterday?
A bit of it. I
I
figured that would
watched
be
all the
news.
trailers. Yeah.
I mean, there's not really any news. They showed a trailer for each of those games. Like, it's not like they announced Injustice, which we kind of expected they wouldn't.
It was something. I don't remember what it was where I was like, oh, that's kind of a surprise.
I mean, I watched both of the trailers for the video games, and like, those games still look good. I still
you know
don't
what?
know
It was the
exactly what
Flash.
those
I was
games
thinking the Flash trailer. Yeah, I know. Neither do I. I don't know what the fuck they're doing because it's unclear. Are we getting another Arkham-like game, or are these both more multiplayer focused?
I think the Suicide Squad is the one that confuses me, because we saw gameplay of Gotham Knights, and it does look like a co-op RPG style game.
Yeah.
But like, what is Suicide Squad?
We don't even know yet. I'm assuming it's going to be a third-person shooter.
I mean, it looks really good, and it is only on PS5 and Series X, so... I mean,
And that's next year?
2020... Did they put a date on that? I know Gotham Knights said 2022, but I don't remember if Suicide Squad had a date.
I think it's 2022.
If both of those games launch in the same year, that'd be awesome, but I somehow feel like Suicide Squad might be 2023.
That's a long time.
I mean, what isn't being delayed nowadays?
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, it's to a point now where if you're going to delay it, if something's not going out for another 3 years, don't even bother showing it off.
I mean, we saw Perfect Dark last year, and that game ain't coming out till 2023.
I know.
I bet you Fable's not out till 2023. Maybe 2024.
Boy.
Yeah, right? And then was it... I think Wolverine said 2023, didn't it? Insomniac's Wolverine?
Probably, because they got Spider-Man next year, right?
Yeah, 2022 should be Spider-Man 2, and then I imagine Wolverine's the year after.
Yeah, but at least there's something in between. Like, they announced Wolverine, but like you won't see that game until there's more to show.
Sure.
I feel like that Insomniac is a bit better at that than...
Insomniac's kind of the kings of putting out games. I won't deny that. But Drew's right. Hearing about a game and then you've ended up by saying 2023, I don't even want to hear about that game yet.
But let me rephrase it though. Like, it's like, I don't think in other cases like Gotham and Suicide Squad, they announced it. We don't know what it is, and like, are those things going to stay in the public conversation enough? Positively, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because at least when Spider-Man comes out, which I'm going to just take a wild assumption and say that this isn't the game that shows you that the studio doesn't know what they're doing, type of thing. Like, it's going to be a good game, right?
Oh, absolutely.
There'll still be excitement for Wolverine because it's the same studio, so like one game is going to prop up another.
Yeah.
Right now, Rocksteady hasn't done anything since Arkham Knight. which
was
wasn't anybody's favorite.
that was a long time ago. I don't think people realize how long ago that game came out.
And the other game isn't by the same studio, and we don't know when that either of these are really coming out or fully what they are yet. And everything's still in vagaries. Like, it's just weird.
Yeah, I think I think some of that might be behind the scenes stuff of like, is AT&T or whoever the fuck still owns Warner Games, like, are they trying to sell this shit off, like the studios and whatnot? You wonder if they are, because let's be fair, I follow, NetherRealm very, very closely. We should have had a new game announcement by now. Their cadence is we should have a new game by now, at least announced. It should be coming out in May of 2022. We don't even know what they're working on, and they stopped supporting Mortal Kombat like 6 months ago.
They're definitely working on something, but they're obviously waiting because they don't know what's happening. And I think it is supposed to be something to do with the DC Universe, but they don't know where they're going to be.
Yeah. And I also, like I've said, I've heard that they're working on Mortal Kombat because if they get sold, they get to keep that and they can continue making that. So that's the safest bet for them.
Yeah, probably.
So, I don't know. It'll be interesting. The only thing we got left for the rest of the year, at least as far as what's been announced, is the Game Awards. So if anything gets announced, I'm assuming it'll be there. I don't know. Michael Keaton in the Flash trailer was pretty rad, though.
That's what I was thinking of, by the way. It was me, like, I saw something from there and it had me excited. Yeah, that was it.
The Batman trailer looks good, too.
It looks great.
Yeah.
Batman looks great.
Yeah, the Batman, I just... Listen, I like Robert Pattinson. He makes weird decisions. He's very much a Christian Bale. You know what I mean? Like, even if the movie's bad, he's gonna be good in it because he does weird things. Although the cast surrounding Robert Pattinson is also great.
Colin Farrell is the Penguin. That's pretty good.
Paul Dano.
Yeah, as the Riddler.
Paul Dano does weird shit. So perfect. But I don't know, man. I just can't get as excited for Batman when fucking Michael Keaton's Batman is coming back, and it's clearly the Batmobile.
The scene where Flash looks at him in the camera and says, "Are you in?" And I was like, "Oh man, is he going to be in it like more than 2 seconds?"
Yeah,
it's good shit. Can't wait for that. All right, let's talk video games. Drew, what you got?
Well, I played a lot of Diablo 2, and then I also did not play a lot of Diablo 2 because let me tell you what is going on with Blizzard Entertainment right now, besides their whole, sexual harassment stuff, is they can't seem to get their servers correct on Diablo 2.
Yeah.
Because I believe that the old netcode from Diablo 2 from 2000 is still being implemented into the netcode of Diablo 2 Resurrected because they're both still using BattleNet. So, for the past 2 days, I can't log into my character.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so if you have an offline character, you can play as much as you want to. But if you have an online character, because, me and Matt did play co-op together, that character is stored on the servers. If you can't access the servers, you can't access your character.
And now, with that system, you can't have a character that's both on and offline. You've got to have one or the other, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So I have a sorceress that is an offline character that I can play whenever I want to. But my paladin, who I've put probably, 15 hours into, the one that I'm trying to beat the game with for Phoenix Down, I can't play him.
Awesome.
Yeah, and they released a 19.6 gigabyte update for the game, which is basically the size of the game, and it's still not fixed. So I've actually been talking to somebody who's playing along with us, and he's like, "Hey, have you been able to log in today?" And I'm like, "Nope."
Awesome.
So, yeah, it's really awesome. Diablo 2 was Resurrected, especially, was going to be probably in my top 10 games, but with this bullshit going on, I don't know. Yeah. It's genuinely like frustrating, because not only is it that I can't even get to my character and play, it's also you can get dropped from the server while you're playing that character. And let me tell you what happened the other day. I died. And when you die in Diablo 2, you have to corpse run back to your body. You know why? Because if you don't reach your body, all of the gear that you've had equipped is laying on your dead body. And you have to go get your body, and then you get your gear back. Well, I died and was trying to get back to where I died, and I lost communication to the server. Now, there is a way. So let's say I'm playing a normal game and I die. I don't feel like running all the way back to my body. I can quit the game, come back in, and my body is laying in the town. I can just pick up my stuff there, done. Right? Well, I was like, well, I'm not that far away. I can easily go get my body. Well, I disconnected from the servers. Oh, crap. Log back in. My body's laying on the ground. I pick up my body. I look at my gear. My weapon and my shield, which are the two biggest things that I have on me right now. One of which, the shield, is an Ancient's Pledge shield, which is using rune words, which took me a little while to make, is gone. It's not on my body. I can't find it. It's not in my stash. Nothing. So I lost both my unique weapon, which is the equivalent of a legendary, and a Ancient Pledge shield, which I use rune words for, and it took me a while to get those runes.
Awesome.
Yeah. I was not very happy, and I logged off immediately and went back to it yesterday, and it said, "Oh, you can't access the Battle.net servers right now." And I said, "Okay, well then I'm not going to play probably."
This sounds like complete shit.
It is. It is garbage. It is complete garbage. And this game's been out for a month now, and you still haven't fixed this? So,
Quality.
yeah. Yep. Been playing and not playing Diablo 2. I also playing for review a game that I actually want to talk about. It's called Rainbow Billy.
Oh yeah, I played through the tutorial of that.
Rainbow Billy and the Curse of the Leviathan, I believe is the full name.
Yes, and so you were like, I bet you would like this. Here's the fun story about this, Drew. You weren't on the episode, but I think it was just me and Ken. It was one of the episodes where I decided I was going to download a bunch of demos from Steam Next Fest or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, perfect. Start up Rainbow Billy. I'm like, this looks fantastic. And I could not get the game to start. It was just sitting there, and I'm like, my controller's connected, it wouldn't register, and none of the keys would register. I do not know why to this day, but the demo didn't work, and I'm like, guess that's it.
Yep, I'm playing on Xbox. Rainbow Billy. How do I explain this game? Rainbow Billy, if you look at any screenshot, these characters in this art style it's overly cute. That's the best way I can describe it.
They look like some Nickelodeon shit.
It kinda does. But I'll be honest with you. When I first started this game up, I was like, "What kind of game is this?" Because the game was so overly cute, and even in the dialogue and everything like that, I was like, "Is this like a Happy Tree Friends thing where like people are just going to start getting murdered and shit?" No, not at all. This is legit a kid's game, and it is the most endearing crap you've ever seen in your life. It's basically Paper Mario meets Undertale. So you walk around a little overworld, and when you get into fights, they're not called fights, they're called confrontations. And it's basically you're talking to the person. They're not happy about something. They're either grumpy or they're sad or they're mad or something like that. And you're supposed to talk them out of being that way by using the power of acceptance. And I'm just like, this is like, who is this made for? Because it's definitely something a kid would enjoy. At the same time, they get into some relatively heavy topics. But yeah, it's weird because the combat, you do mini games, like whether it be like a rhythm action game or a slot machine, or there's even one where you're basically playing Breakout, and those are your attacks. So when you talk to somebody, you're trying to bring color back to their world, and you have to choose the correct colors to use on an attack. And when you do that, it fills up a meter that then they get color back in their life. They're now more happy, or they accept their flaws or something like that. It's very much one of those games that's trying to teach kids important life lessons. You know, it's okay to be mad. You know, it's okay to be strong because you want to protect somebody. And so it's that kind of a game. And I don't know, it's just a really sweet game. And it's actually pretty fun. It's never overly challenging. They have some puzzles that it never stumped me, but it was like, oh, this is kind of intricate. I need to, I need to know when to pull this lever. I need to watch this and this, and it's something that I feel like a father and a son would enjoy, or a mother and a daughter would enjoy. Something you sit down with your kid and play together, because it has that art style. It has those life lessons. And I'm enjoying it, and I'm just sitting here by myself as a 35-year-old man, and I'm like, oh, this is fun. It's very endearing. It has some nice dialogue. It's a very endearing game, and I think that anybody who has a kid could sit down and really enjoy it together.
I start to think that maybe we're out of touch of like what kids love nowadays, because I understand what you're saying. It's like an age-appropriate game for the younger kids. But, like, younger kids don't like normal games anymore. They like fucking wobbly physics games. And
it's true. This is basically a turn-based role-playing game.
Yeah, my son wouldn't come within 50 feet of that. He'd be like, this. He's actually playing Borderlands 2 right now with my wife. They're playing co-op.
I mean, don't they drop the F-bombs in Borderlands 2?
I heard from the living room last night, I heard him go, what's a badonkadonk?
To be fair, I'm pretty sure that is Tiny Tina that uses that.
Probably.
Yeah.
And I don't think she knows either.
No, she probably doesn't. It's just... It's so funny to me to see like his taste in gaming. If it doesn't have guns or wobbly physics, he probably doesn't want anything to do with it. I
would say, the problem is it's a turn-based role-playing game where you do have to do a little bit of thinking. It's not overly complicated or anything like that. But the content itself would be more appropriate for maybe a 4 to 5 or 6-year-old. Once you get like 8, 9, 10, give me a machine gun and let me shoot aliens or something like that.
Yeah.
But the content is ripe for probably a 4, 5, 6-year-old, where like a parent could read what they're saying to the kid, kind of thing.
I think you're both kind of underestimating, though. Like, Undertale, a thing that you referenced, is popular with kids.
Yeah, I don't understand
like,
what kids get into these. I don't know what hooks them into things.
I think it's just who's streaming what, to be honest with you.
I mean, that's probably a big part of it, and I very seriously doubt anybody's streaming Rainbow Billy.
Well, that's on them. The
Rainbow
shame
Billy
on them.
is a legit good game. Like I found myself like drawn to playing it.
Hey, let's be fair. The big popular streams are sometimes games that are not very good, like Roblox.
Yeah.
That game is bad. So, hey, whatever, man.
Yeah, it's a very endearing game. It's a cross between Paper Mario and like Undertale, where you're. I've played maybe 20 minutes of Undertale, but I get the gist that you're actually not supposed to kill things in that game.
I mean, you totally can.
Yeah, you can, but I mean, the game tries to push it that you don't kill anybody.
I mean, yeah,
So you don't do that in this game at all. There is no violence really in this game. It
Yeah.
is just, this person is mad. Well, let's talk to him, listen to him.
Let's have a conversation.
Yeah, and that's basically what it is. You're having a confrontation because somebody's mad and they don't want to let you pass.
Oh boy, so it's like a parenting simulator,
I
except that doesn't
I
work.
don't know. Throw a little color on them; they'll be all right. But yeah, no, it's actually really cool. It's got a really cool art style. It's legit. Like that game is something that I think will fly over a lot of people's radar, but they really should take a look at it.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. There's so many fucking video games. Like
I was gonna say, I feel like there's a bunch of really good indie games that are getting skipped over for.
Remember how much
bigger
people
titles.
talked? Well, you remember how many people talked about Sable, and Sable's out, and like I don't hear anybody talking about it.
I could not care less about it. As soon as I kind of knew that there was just kind of like wandering in Sable.
Yeah, it's less of a like objective based game. It's more like a
Yeah, I'm kind of tired with just sandboxes.
Yeah.
That's totally cool if you're not, though. Sorry?
Rainbow Billy is right up your alley then, because they legit just say, you need to go east right now.
I can't deal with that either. That there's levels, there's in betweens, and like I feel like games really don't want to be like in that sweet spot. They either want to handhold you, or they were just like,
If I could figure it out, I don't fucking know.
Yeah,
I would say, all right, I know you're going to judge me for saying this, but when I first started this game, I was like, I'm getting some hardcore Super Paper Mario vibes off of it, and I still do, kind of.
Yeah.
why do you think I'm who's going to judge you on this?
But because you hold that in such a high regard, and if you sat down and played it, you'd be like, this is nothing like Super Paper Mario.
No. Well, I mean, it's not because of the gameplay, but I my thing with that is like what you just said specifically about the tone of it is very much not Super Paper Mario. The structure of the story could be very similar, but like Super Paper Mario goes places where I'm like, I don't think kids should play this.
Yeah, but kids do.
Because
They
of
don't
nightmares. Yeah.
I got news for you. If your kids shouldn't play it, they probably want to.
I say that, but I just defended Undertale, and Undertale does some similar things to Super Paper Mario in terms of like, this is kind of fucked up.
I mean, my wife and my son played through Resident Evil Revelations 2 and then played through part of Resident Evil 6.
I say this, when I say kids, I mean like under 10.
Okay.
I think I was like 10 when I played Max Payne.
I keep forgetting that my son's going to be a teenager in like a year and a half.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is like, we keep thinking about, I don't want my kid to look at that stuff. But I played Doom when I was like fucking 7.
Okay, well, that's a problem there.
I turned out fine.
Sure, but a lot of people don't, you know?
Sure, but I mean,
also games now, what's other than shooting things in Doom, like, there's no story. Like, yeah, some things could scare you, but like literally once you've seen it once, that's kind of the end of it.
It's not necessarily about like the shoot. It's not shooting people that bothers me. It's more like ripping eyeballs out of things.
Yeah, like that's where I'd be like, yeah, if you were like ripping and tearing and it showed you in high detail, but also I think Doom, even the newer ones, are so far away from reality that like, you know. Like,
at least it's not like a Call of Duty, like where when you stab a dude in the neck, he like bleeds on the floor for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, that, that's where we, and like when I say Super Paper Mario, like, yeah, you're looking at a cartoon character, but then that cartoon, I guess spoilers for a game that's over a decade old. If you haven't played it, you probably aren't. But like early on, like one of the first, the second boss, I think, she looks like a little girl, of course, just made out of like geometric shapes or whatever. And then the head like makes a cracking sound, and the head twists upside down, and then it grows spider legs out of her head. And then she starts marching around because she's a spider with like the body of the little girl dangling from the new body of the spider or whatever, and it's like one of the most fucked up things. And you're like, yeah, maybe that would mess up a kid.
Alright, good
'Cause,
job,
like,
Nintendo. Way to go.
yeah. And then that game gets even darker. That's just a creepy part of it.
Oh, that's
But
good.
you know, at the end, same thing. Like one of the final bosses of Undertale. It's some stuff. So
I don't know. It's weird. Like I also played Duke Nukem 3D when I was doing it right.
yeah,
Shake
okay,
it,
that
baby.
one maybe a little bit more. Yeah, that's
I gave strippers a bunch of dollars, and they
Show you their
Teaching you-
pasties.
showed me.
teach-
Yeah,
teaching you a life lesson on tip your workers.
Oh, or waste your money. One of the two.
Yeah, that too.
Alright, what else going on, Drew, besides Rainbow Billy?
Let's see. I've played 2 of these games before. I have the Crysis trilogy.
Yes.
Crysis 1 sucks.
Really? I like
I
Crysis. It's fine.
I wouldn't say it sucks. It's just a boring ass game.
Yeah,
You
it tried to
played
be
the
like a
original Far Cry.
sandbox. Yeah, that's back when they were doing that kind of sandboxy, here's a big world, solve the combat puzzle shit.
Because I mean, like that was kind of Crytek's thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crysis
first-
2 is the best game in that series, if you ask me.
Crysis 2 was good. There's a lot about 3 that I really like.
3 did okay, but 3, by the time 3 came out, I was like, I'm kind of done with Crysis, if we're being honest.
Curious, and you won't have the answer. I'm wondering what version of Crysis it is.
I have no idea.
Because-
I'm playing on Xbox, so.
Well, so here's the reason why I say that. In the original PC version, there is like a segment that was cut out of the PS3 console release.
The original Crysis?
Yeah. I can't recall what segment it was.
Hold on
but
a
it
second.
was like-
The original Crysis didn't come out on...
Yes, it did.
No.
Crysis came out on PS3 and Xbox 360. It was much later.
Yeah, it wasn't like an Xbox Live Arcade.
That's what I'm
kind
saying.
of
Like
thing?
it was a modified version.
Right, but I'm wondering which version is this remastered version.
Well, I mean, the
I have no
Crysis,
clue.
the first Crysis remaster's been out for a fucking year. I'm sure somebody
I
knows.
still
the answer
don't
to
have
that.
an answer for.
Well,
what
I don't know.
version.
I'm not a Crysis scholar, so you could put both versions in front of me without showing me the exact difference, and I wouldn't have a fucking clue.
Okay, there we go. Digital Foundry, I looked it up, says that the remastered is not based on the original PC version, but the port, which is apparently the more streamlined version in terms of gameplay. Like, there's a segment in the original where you had to fly a ship or whatever, and it was a nightmare. That's all I know.
All right, well, I don't play enough. Like Crysis 2, I played all the way through.
I did too.
Like that was like the shooter on 360 for like a year. Like that game.
It was
really
good. It was good, yeah. And these are fine. I mean, it's,
They run at 60 on the new machines, and that's a beautiful thing for Crysis.
yeah, they're decent games. Crysis 1's a weird one for me, but I mean, yeah, Crysis 2 and 3 are fine first-person shooters.
And Crysis 3 got that bow and arrow, son. Remember that was
It
the year
does.
of the bow.
Yeah. That's a game.
I like Crysis 3. I don't know. I like that one.
Crysis 3 is okay. I honestly, what really annoyed me about Crysis 3 was that it was like years and years later after Crysis 2.
The weirdest thing was I booted up each game, and like at the beginning of Crysis 2, Prophet. Sorry, spoilers for old ass games. Prophet dies, and
Yeah.
you take his suit, and then in 3, you're fucking Prophet.
Your profit again.
So if you didn't finish 2, you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, you play as Alcatraz.
Yeah, Alcatraz.
And the suit. Holy shit, that suit.
I still love the mechanic in Crysis 2 when they streamlined it for console to where you hold the button to do the attachments. Like you hold it down, he lifts up the gun, and then there's like the 3 spots, each one to a face button, to where you could put on different pieces. Like that mechanic is still cool to me.
And it's snappy, you know, it's quick. Bam, bam, and now I can do this, now I can do this.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, I like
So you
that
can change
mechanic.
it up. The thing that got me was, and when I played a little bit of Crysis too, cloak engaged, cloak engaged. Every 5 seconds, cloak engaged, and I'm like, God, I get it. The cloak's engaged.
Well, I mean, he's got to let you know.
I guess, but man, I pop up, shoot a guy, come back down, cloak engaged. So dumb. But yeah, no, I'm playing those for review. I don't even know what to say.
I mean, all you got to say is like it's Crysis. It runs
It's
really
Crysis,
well.
and they really look halfway decent. I mean, you know, that's it. I don't know what else to say. They're
They
fine
need to-
games.
They need to port Warhead.
No,
Crysis
was-
Warhead.
nah,
Yeah.
they don't need to port that.
Yeah, they do.
Nah,
Gonna have one, but not Warhead, where you play as Psycho.
motherfucker, we got Bubsby, but not Gex. The world ain't fair.
That's true.
Yeah,
very
Bubsy,
true.
but not Gex. Wow. All right, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all.
I know.
agree with you, but yeah.
Dude, I want to play
At
Gex
least
again.
Gex was funny.
Okay, let's not go that far.
I thought
He had the quips.
the quips were good.
I'm not saying those. The clips were okay the first one time you heard them, and then it's like, okay.
I mean, don't forget that is a reptile that has sex with a woman in those games. Remember that. Yeah, that game was horny.
Things I didn't need to remember from Deep Cover Gecko.
Deep cover gecko, baby. You remember the cover? The girl's got a shirt off. You know,
It's Gex Enter the Gecko.
enter
And
the
then
gecko.
deep cover.
Oh, yeah. Little double entendre there. What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
We had a different kind of horny back in the old days.
Let's
Did you
not,
know
let's,
that in
let's not forget all the sexual innuendos in every Ratchet and Clank game.
I mean, every title was an innuendo.
I think there's only a couple that are like not.
The biggest thing I remember originally, A Crack in Time,
Yeah,
was supposed to be called Clock Blockers.
yeah, clock blockers. I remember that.
They
God damn
changed it.
And like I think that's one of the few where it's like, yeah, you could really stretch this to be an innuendo, but it's tools of destruction.
Hey, after you make like 20 of them, you kind of run out of clever puns that you can show
Full
your
frontal
children.
assault is a good one.
It's for booty.
All for One is not. And then the newest one was Into the Nexus was not one. And then what was the newest one again?
Oh, fuck. What is the new one
A
called?
Rift Apart.
A Rift Apart. There you go.
Yeah, which sounds like ripped apart.
Okay. That's not sexual. I mean, unless that's your thing. Well, it's not for me, but
Which the P and the F.
well, I get it.
Yeah, I'm just. Also, did you know that random unnecessary fact that everybody can remember? Did you know that Gex in the UK has a different voice actor?
Well, of course, it's not going to be Dana Gould.
Dana Gold. But it's not even this consistent across the games. It's so fucking weird. Why? What an unnecessary change.
I just don't know why we haven't got Gex back. I mean, every other crappy mascot has come back, and Gex has not come back.
Because Square Enix sees no value in it.
Square Enix sees no value in anything.
Okay, first off, you have forgotten we have never got a remaster of Blast.
Yeah,
Well,
but
okay,
that's
well-
come on. The Phil Hartman.
Yeah, you're not going to replace him.
Nah,
Yeah,
it's-
that's true.
The best you could get is Billy West, and you could still tell it's Billy West.
no, just leave that one alone. Not to mention, if you played that game in the last 2 decades, Drew,
It's not good.
Absolutely horrible.
it's one of the
horrible.
worst games I've ever played.
Yeah, I know.
And not to mention,
but it had Phil Hartman in it, and that
Not-
was the whole reason why I played it.
don't forget, Drew, that game is also misogynistic now.
This is very true.
Because all you're doing is going through the level collecting like these girls in dancing cages.
Yes,
But you shouldn't play that game regardless because it's just fucking awful.
it's a horrible game.
Oh,
Yeah, I know.
at least Gex was a good video game.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah, you can. You might not always be right, but you can say that.
The Game Boy Color versions of Gex Enter the Gecko and Gex 3 are collectathon platformers that are 2D. they're the weirdest thing ever. Speaking like for a Hidden Gems episode, I should bring it up, Drew. But they're actually pretty good. They're pretty good conversions of the 3D platformers.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, what else? What else you got?
The last thing I can talk about. I mean, obviously, I played Overwatch, but who gives a shit?
Did you get your skin?
I did get my skin.
The Genji skin.
Yeah, the Genji skeleton skin.
That's literally I played until that thing popped and then I turned it off.
Me too. I feel like since I have stopped playing Overwatch, either I've gotten dumber or the people they're putting me with have gotten dumber, and I think it's the latter.
It could be. It's bad.
It's bad now. Yeah.
I did watch the Overwatch 2 matches, and that game moves a hell of a lot faster with 5 people.
I'm telling you, that is not Overwatch.
Yeah.
They have changed it into a first-person shooter. When you can have a single character wipe an entire team, that's not Overwatch.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how it plays out, but I don't know. I don't know if I'll keep going. We'll see.
I don't think I will. I hate to say it like that, but I don't think I will. But the other game I played, which is a brand spanking new game that came out this week, Back for Blood.
Oh yeah, I tried to play that and it crashed twice, and I was like, you know what, this ain't worth my time.
Really?
Yeah, like crashed in the camp.
I didn't have a single problem.
Yep, that's why I haven't played it yet.
Did you play it on like unlocked day?
I played the early access game last week. I haven't tried it this week.
They may have fixed some stuff because the thing ran smooth as butter for me.
I have no doubt that they've got it fixed, but like that type of game did not say come back. Like, because I would need somebody to play it with.
I played with randoms.
I don't want to play with random people.
We had a decent time.
Hey,
it was fun. I didn't mind it. Left 4 Dead. I mean, they got that card system, and they got Michael Ironside. I believe it's Michael.
I mean, what else is he doing?
I don't know. He's not doing Sam Fisher. So you get those little cutscenes where they tell you this is what the cards do, and this is this, and this, and this, and I'm like, this is really complicated for a Left 4 Dead game.
I don't want to invest that much into a Left 4 Dead game. I want to start a match and go from point A to point B shooting things.
Sure, and you can do that, and they do have that little card system, and sure, I basically just like, all right, whatever, I don't care. A faster reload speed, go for it, and I just pick that card. But if you're hosting the game, you also get to choose the card that makes the game more difficult.
Ah, fuck that.
And that's interesting. That's the interesting part, because they change up a lot of the mechanics of the actual game itself. And there's also challenges. So there could be a card that has a challenge on it saying like, oh, nobody gets incapacitated this entire match or this entire round, and you get extra, currency that you can purchase stuff with. And I kind of like the way they're going with it. It gives the game more legs.
I think another reason that you're probably okay with this is you haven't played like all of the ones that have come out. Like I'm so burnt on the 4v the World games. So I played World War Z, played World War Z Aftermath, played Aliens, Fireteam Elite. Like I've played all of those in the last 6 months.
Generation Zero.
Generation Zero is a bad video
that was
game.
bad.
What was that one that me and you played with Aliens?
Oh yeah, what the fuck was that game
We
called?
didn't mind that one. It was buggy as all get out, but it was all right.
What the fuck was the name of that game?
I can't remember what it was called.
Well, we called it Left 4 Dead with Aliens.
Yeah, it was just Left 4 Dead with Aliens.
But like I've played so many of these games, and the scary part is
I played a good amount of them.
Like I'm just burnt on that formula because it's like you either play with people and enjoy it, or you don't play at all. And like sometimes I don't know.
Yeah, I played with like when I played to get the 3 achievements for the quest. There's a monthly quest that they added for it. And I played to just get those 3 achievements, but I kept playing. I played for about 2 hours, and I was like,
Rock Galactic.
No, that's the minor game.
Yeah, that's the minor game.
Okay, I thought I had it.
No.
Thought I had it.
The other thing is Drew, I think World War Z is a better game. And it's the same thing.
pretty good. World War Z is pretty good. I don't know. I like it. And
That's
it's,
fine. I'm just explaining why I haven't gone back to it because like I played Back for Blood in the beta, and like I played through one level, I was like, "Yep, that's Left 4 Dead." I really don't feel the need to play it.
Quick question: who did you think was being played by Michael Ironside?
The main dude in the camp,
yeah.
the guy
And
that
he's
keeps
also
you
like
missions.
he's also the tutorial dude.
Is his name Phillips?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't fucking
I'm
know
pretty
anybody's names.
Because I'm pretty sure it's Darren DePaul. Because Michael Ironside isn't in this list, and Darren DePaul has a very similar voice.
Okay, well, it's got to be him then.
Because he
Doesn't
also
he
voices
do
Reinhardt.
Reinhardt, yeah. Darren
Yeah.
DePaul does Reinhardt.
Oh,
And J.
okay.
Jonah Jameson and Spider-Man and 1,000 other voices. I'm pretty sure he's
That
also
dude's
the
got-
voice of...
That dude's got range, and he looks like Lloyd Kaufman.
Yes, yes, he does.
He's a very little small man.
Yeah, he looks like Lloyd. He even wears the bow ties, dude.
I'm pretty
he wears the
sure
bow ties, but he has
the-
this Reinhardt German, loud-sounding, gruff voice.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's the voice of one of the main characters in Final Fantasy 15. Oh my god, the big guy.
No, he's not Gladius. Gladius is played by the guy who does Junkrat.
But man, a lot of overlapping voice actors.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, he's Arden. He's Arden. He's the bad guy.
Yeah.
German.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That dude's got range, man. Give him that.
No kidding. No kidding. So Reinhardt's giving me my mission.
Yeah, Reinhardt's giving you your missions. He's like, come here. Oh, shit. All right. Left
You'll
4 Dead.
get burned.
Back for Blood, Left 4 Dead. Did you see the KFC tweet? That was funny.
Yeah, I did. That, like, you know, why? I get you're trying to be funny, but it's not, I mean, it's just mean.
Well, it's also the same team, which I thought was funny.
Yeah,
Did you see the reply from Turtle Rock?
Yeah, they deserved that because I mean, like, really? I mean,
Oh shit! The reply from Turtle Rock was great. It was 11 herbs and spices, and you still can't.
still make bland ass chicken.
Still make bland ass chicken.
I don't know. Back for Blood is fine. I like usually whenever I do a quest game, as soon as I finish my quest, I delete it. Nope, I still got it on my hard drive. I may boot it back up.
Boy,
just to try it out some more.
I deleted the Long Dark super fast this week.
I like the Long Dark.
I do not like. I walked across the map and I was like, pop, delete.
I know. Well, you're not big on those survival games.
Oh, I hate survival games. I cannot stand them. It's like, how many trees do I have to chop down with my rock axe?
No, that's not that kind of game.
Still, I don't like any of those games.
Yeah, the Long Dark's like one of the most solid ones they got out there, and they're still releasing content for it.
I think I'm just an old jaded gamer. Like if you put a hunger or a thirst meter or a rogue or a card element in your game, I'm just out.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah, nothing else I can think of. Back for Blood. I don't mind it. It's pretty fun. I mean, it is Left 4 Dead with a few little modifiers here and there, but it's fun. It's enjoyable. And it's got full crossplay. So if you got a friend that's playing on PC and you want to play on Xbox, go for it.
Go for it.
fact-
Truthfully, if there's not cross-play in a game nowadays, I'm like, come the fuck on. What are you doing?
Yeah, like what are you doing? But and truth be told, I played with 2 PC players. Like it was, we had one bot, and the game does not count the bot doing anything.
No.
Because at the end of an area, it always says, you know, this person did this and this and this. And then we had Mom, and Mom had 0 kills. I'm like, that's a lie, but okay.
All right. Well, you know. All right. Anthony, you got 5 minutes. Go.
Fuck off. All right, so I spoke previously about a game called Eastward.
Ah, yes.
It's a really it kills me to say this, but don't buy that game.
I haven't yet. I wanted to, and then I keep hearing like people talked about it the first week, and then when they go back to it, they're like, eh.
So when you play the game, it's really good. However, it's a first-time studio, so it feels bad, although it's published by Chucklefish, but it's a first-time studio. And this is going to be a negative segment for me, and I apologize in advance. So I started it up. I liked it. Every game, I feel like there's like a level of like you have to establish everything. So if it's going to be a Zelda-like game, which is what a lot of people are saying this game is, even I did, you're going to have dialogue. But the problem is this game has so much dialogue, and it's not paced well enough between gameplay segments. And it's just constant nonsense. Like, it's not moving a plot. It's trying to be quirky. And you can do both things simultaneously. Now, it could be the fact that this is a Chinese dev. So, I'm sure someone had to look at original dialogue that was written and localize it and stuff. But I'm sitting there and I'm like, when am I going to actually get to play again? And then you get a moment where you actually have control. And it's literally walking from one spot to another, nothing happening, so the dialogue can continue. And it's not engaging, and it's not asking me as a player to engage, it's just trying to be weird. Look at how quirky these characters are. Weird is not the word I should use, it's quirky. And when I say quirky, I mean like the try-hard quirky. Like, aren't these characters so weird? Like, not really, no. I've seen this enough where this isn't weird, this is actually annoying. These characters aren't adding to the plot, they're wasting my time. If you want to have quirky characters, have one. Don't have a majority of the cast be quirky. Because they're just slowing everything down. And we had a quirky character, and I liked the way he played off people when So the first segment of this game is spent in this underground city. And it's really well done because it is a weird situation, and it's run by a mayor who's corrupt. And so it allows these characters to be quirky, but it feels like that's just how these people live because they're so far removed from a normal society. So as soon as your main characters go up to the real world and everything's kind of just the same, it doesn't have that excuse of like, oh, this is an underground city that's been locked off from the real world by a corrupt mayor who's in full control. Like, these characters shouldn't exist anymore. And they're slowing down any forward momentum that the plot has. Like, literally, I do not know what is going on. There's no overarching goal. So, take any Zelda game that has a ton of dialogue in the first half. There's still Twilight Princess, a game that I think also has the same issue that Skyward Sword did, but Skyward Sword has now remedied that fact. There is still a clear goal that we are moving towards as a character. Is it slow at first? Yes, but is establishing a world that we will stay in, not a world that we will leave early on to move on to the next world that has no connection. There is no plot going on. I don't know what the goal of this game is anymore. And I'm not playing anything, I'm just watching dialogue happen. So I'm kind of done. And a lot of people keep saying, well, it's like Zelda. Yeah, when you play a dungeon, it is Zelda-like in some sense, but it is never as engaging. The puzzles are never as interesting. It's a very pretty game, but it seems like the devs have seen like Earthbound, because clearly that is the inspiration, but fail to understand how that game works, which is a constant issue. Like, if you look at something like Y2K or Yik, that RPG also is trying to be quirky and seems to fail to understand that it, like, Earthbound nails it in like a way that they don't have everything be quirky. There's a mundanity to it as well. Nothing is mundane in this title. So don't buy it. I hate being that person that has to be like, don't buy this game. But I
It's
don't
also
think
it's
there's
also
anything...
genuinely expensive, right? It's like $30 or something.
Yeah. Yeah, and I bought it. I'm not... This isn't a
That's
game
not an impulse purchase. $30 is not an impulse purchase.
No, and so I had watched this game through development, and I feel like they've chosen well on what to show, but they're showing stuff in its dialogue segments, and I'm like, well, that's not going to be the whole game, and I guess technically it's not, but it's a large majority of it. And it's disappointing because like they've put full effort into like a full RPG that's inside this game. Like there's a fake Dragon Quest that you can play as well. And I'd rather just kind of play that. But I'm so tired of not moving the plot forward that I just don't engage with it because it's not going to move the plot forward. Like it's a frustrating game because it's like it's so pretty and when I'm actually playing it, it's fun, but then it does everything in its path to everything. Yeah, whatever. I don't care. I'm frustrated. This is the words I'm using. It does everything possible to make it so it's not fun. And I'm not saying that because trust me, I'll be fought on the next game I talk about. I'm sure, as the internet has decided it's one of the best games ever. But this is a game where I'm like, I feel like a lot of people are going to come away from it feeling like they've been, not ripped off, but lied to on what this game actually is. If the story was better, I think I could forgive it more. But it's just not. Like, it's just not there for the most part. And having a character called the Night Stalker.
Ooh.
Yeah, so there's a character there's a character who's quirky, but like it makes sense because he's weird. Like he's supposed to be kind of a clown performer character. And at one point he performs as a character called the Night Stalker, and I'm like, I feel like I know you don't understand this, but someone along the way should have gone, maybe that's not the name you should choose.
Yeah.
Because the character's supposed to be good. But I'm like, is this gonna go poorly? Like,
Is his real name Richard?
no.
Okay.
No. But I mean, like, which one of... So, is it Richard Ramirez, or is it the original Night Stalker that we're referencing? Like,
The
what...
TV show where the guy's looking for supernatural beings?
Oh God.
Bojack?
No, yeah.
Yeah.
He was also the Night Stalker.
Yeah, it's a bad name to choose. Don't do that.
Yeah.
And this character, and by the way, that whole segment where this character introduces himself as his alter ego, which actually is just him with a mask on, so like everybody kind of knows it's him. Not funny. Doesn't move the plot forward. Great. I'm glad so and I can time it because like I try to play this on my lunch break, and so 30 minutes. 30 minutes I never got to the next segment. 30 minutes on the next break I took, because we just take 2 15-minute breaks together when we're on night shift. I didn't get anywhere else. Like, it didn't move further. Like, it was an hour of just not doing anything. Like,
Sounds super
yeah,
fun.
yeah. And I think, honestly, I'd forgive it more if it was, like, random encounter, like, old school RPG. That's the weird part, because it's, like, that's paced better, but no, it's, like, Zelda, but with way too much dialogue in between. Anyways, the next game that I finished, yeah, like I said, this is the negative segment, and I apologize in advance. Metroid Dread. I finished it, and I don't know what other Metroid games people have played, but I don't feel like this. Like, Samus feel like, in terms of movement, this is one of the best games. It looks pretty, too. I think the tone is right for a Metroid game, which it doesn't feel like too action, but it's got a little bit of that Aliens vibe returning. And towards the end of the game, it felt difficult, but fair, not punishing. Like, oh, I have to learn how to beat this boss better. like it's on me to become a better player now and learn rather than like fuck you, you didn't do the right thing from the get-go. Um I I'm just gonna go through my list of grievances. One, the map is too maze-like. I know that sounds weird for a Metroidvania, but a lot of it just doesn't make sense because it's not. If you're in a cave, it's one thing, but a lot of this game is not cave-based. A lot of it is built like rooms in an actual complex, and it doesn't make sense. And when the Emmys are gone, those segments are just labyrinths that kind of are useless, just more rooms to tread. And like that's kind of disappointing. So that could be forgiven if there was a good way to get across the map faster, but there isn't. So any backtracking you have to do is now artificially lengthened because of how awful the map is laid out. Then you try to use the map, and the map is kind of useless. I really wish I could turn off those icons, but I can't. So it's just this cluttered mess that I can't zoom in well enough, so it's kind of pointless anyways. So the beginning of the game I thought was fine, but then there's a big portion in the middle where, and somebody argued with Ken and I over this, and I may have called him some rude names, and he deserved it. I don't feel like this game gives you enough direction. In other Metroidvanias, there's two ways that you can give... Well, there's three, I guess, ways you can give direction. One is literally just pointing where to go next, which is what Zero Mission Infusion did. It doesn't give you the answers, it just points... It tells you that you're close, and it tells you you're heading in the right direction. Obviously, you could be more direct and be like, this is the room you need to go to, but usually it's just a yellow point on a map, and it kind of just says, it's in this area, and when you fill out the map, you clearly figure out what room it's in. That's a way to tell you that you need to be looking there to move forward. The second way is by the abilities that you have now. When you get a new jump ability, like say you get a double jump ability, the double jump ability clearly opens up paths that you have seen in the past, and there's places to go for. Like that is the way you go forward, and usually the main way is the most obvious place to use that ability. That's another way to direct players. The third one, which is not as common, is like background material. And this game does a bit of that early on, where you see a boss moving through the level and you follow it. That's a little bit more obtuse, but it's still an interesting way to do it. In the middle of this game, it doesn't do any of those. And early on, the game tells you that if you get stuck, just shoot blocks, which isn't necessarily just shoot the walls and ceiling, and maybe you'll find the way, but that's a bad way to do, so I'm supposed to do like this tedium work because you didn't figure out a better way to explain how to move forward. And a lot of people defending it, but I'm like, in previous Metroid games, those were for bonuses. Those were for the upgrades.
Yeah, that's for like finding, that's like finding the wall chicken.
Yeah. And so I'm going to point out that one of these a game that a lot of people criticize, and is one of the early, I think it's actually the first Angry Video Game Nerd video, which is Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest. You remember how abstract and obtuse parts of that game are? Well, I'd argue that this game follows a lot of that, and it wasn't okay then, definitely not okay now, because we've learned so much in between. And because there's the Emmy, and I don't know which way to go forward, and I've got a new ability, which, by the way, if you're gonna have a mission log, don't just tell me what ability I got last. That's pointless, just get rid of it. I can see that on my status screen, but then you have a log that tells you that... So, I ended up wandering through an Emmy section trying to figure out which way to go, because again, the map is laid out like a labyrinth, and has all these these teleporters that I have to use because the map can't be accessed fully through the main segment of the going throughs, and I'm like, I don't fully comprehend how someone looks at this game and goes, this is what Metroid has always been, or this is what Metroidvanias always are, because I've never been lost in a Metroidvania like I was this game. Towards the end, I didn't have that issue. Towards the beginning, I didn't have that issue. But there's a certain point in that game where I can see all the things, or I remember where I saw a spot where I can use that, or the example early on is that there's cold areas. They tell you early on you can't access cold areas. I have a suit that allows me to go into cold areas. So I'm like, well, clearly it's behind one of these doors. So I go, and behind that door is a missile upgrade. I've now traveled across the map for a missile upgrade.
Can we talk about that for a second? So the missile economy in this game is poorly optimized because you have to use missiles constantly, and it gives you missiles constantly, but 90% of the upgrades that you find in this game are 2 missile upgrades. And it feels more like there are just 2, like, give me 5 or 10 per upgrade and cut the upgrades down massively.
Yeah, there are 5 missile upgrade or 10 missile.
Yeah, there are, but make them all that.
Yeah, so not a spoiler. All the bosses up until the final boss require missiles to be used, or charge shots, which are just not.
When you're moving around, it's very hard to
don't do that.
No.
Because all the bosses have an attack that will give you missiles.
Yes. You never. I was never out of missiles.
So at that point, on just a control scheme thing, let me use a switch to missile option. Let me lock the missile button down.
Oh yeah, instead of having to hold it.
Hold it. Now there's a reason why, but then there's other buttons that aren't used on the controller that could be used to have the other ability be activated. Anyways. So, yeah, getting lost is not a commonplace thing for myself anyways in Metroidvanias. I feel like a lot of them use smart methods to kind of show you where to go forward. And an asshole on the internet found Ken, and I engaged with it, and I shouldn't have. And argued that is just a feature of like Metroid and Castlevania and games that are like that. And I'm going to tell you now that no, it is not that case. Exploration is not part of those games, generally. Exploration is how you get upgrades, which is kind of like outside of the original Metroid, all of them have given you more direction. Even Samus Returns has a Metroid radar to tell you that a Metroid is nearby. Points you in the right direction in some sense. In the middle of this game, I did not know where to go. And, like, to me, that is a problem, because my 11-hour experience should have been probably 8. I did not explore optionally. I explored because I didn't know what the hell was going on. And now I've seen some people, and it's funny because I criticized him, 2 weeks ago, call out David Jaffe over this, saying that he's bad at video games, which may or may not be the case, I don't know. But I can't believe I'm saying this. He's not fully wrong. Like, he's pointed out that shooting random blocks is not good game design, and I argue that he is absolutely correct. The video that someone showed, because he says there's nothing to show you, to tell you to shoot those blocks. The video then zooms in on the enemy above the ceiling that you're supposed to shoot out. That looks like it's in another part of the room that you can't access. Why would you shoot that enemy when the game clearly establishes early on until you have a certain power-up that you cannot fire through walls? If that is your example of good game design, you're an idiot. That's all I have to say. Because that is terrible. And most of the people that are in the video shooting the ceiling that you're supposed to, most of them, not all of them, but most of them, shoot it by accident. Good game design. Even if I got it first time, the fact that there are multiple people having these issues, and there are others that are going, no, you're wrong, this game is perfect, this is just a part of the game. It's not even a part of other Metroid games. Tell me you've never played a Metroid game without telling me that you've never played a Metroid game. Like, I'm not saying this game is bad, I'm not saying people can't enjoy it more than I do, because fucking, obviously I'm miserable. But I just... If this is your first experience to Metroid and you don't like it, it's a bad game to start off with. I think the bosses take too much damage, or too much of Samus's health. Like, if it's gonna just kill me in 3 shots, like, why do I have a full health bar? You know? Like, they take out so much health, and like not till the end did I feel like I had any sort of chance against some of the bosses. It's just this weirdly difficult, but not really, more like punishing game. Because again, I think difficulty implies that there's a learning curve to it. I don't think there's anything really to learn with this game. It's just like outright unfair at times. But clearly I'm in the minority of people that feel that way, and it's like, whatever. If this is what Metroid's going to become, I'm probably just not interested anymore.
Well, it's also telling that Nintendo, like, they haven't made a Metroid game, and I couldn't tell you how long. Like, they don't.
The last one was Zero Mission.
Yeah, like they farm those out. You know, Retro did an amazing job with Metroid Prime, and Mercury Steam has done decent with Metroid. Like, I don't hate Dread. I think Dread
I don't hate Dread either.
Like, I think there's a lot going for it, but yeah, there are a lot of criticisms. It's like you said, any other game did this, it'd be crucified.
So, yeah, I would argue that, like, because in the world of video games, a lot of AAA games are not Metroid style games, right? You know, those are AA at best. Because, like, I'd argue that, like, anything that not Yacht Club, really, Way Forward does, that's, like, those are AA games, right? It was like, it's not a huge publisher behind them ever, if any. And, like, yeah, they're well known enough, and you know they have the budget, but, like, they're not competing for $60. They release for less. And then it's everything under that is just independent stuff that is, you know, clearly inspired by Metroid and Symphony of the Night and all that stuff. If one of those games did the things that this game does, I feel like it'd be criticized, because even Hollow Knight, which has its criticisms, it is clearly trying to go for different things. It's never like, it's a hard game, but there's a learning curve to it. It's never like, well, just figure it out and just hit everything. You know, they don't give you a map function, but that's because they're asking you to choose to either map it or have another ability in the place of a map. And like, they also have, like, I never learned the map of this game, because it was all samey. Like, it's very pretty looking, but outside of a few key areas, like, you just kind of blended in.
There's no like landmarks and milestones and just,
yeah.
Like, for a good example is, and it's like burned into my brain, is when I was playing Metroid Prime. Like, I had so much of that map memorized. Like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to go past this point to this part to do this thing, and like, I knew where I was going without even looking at the map.
Yeah, and like, if I'm going anywhere in this game, the first thing I did was open up my map.
Yeah, I did that too. Like, every time I'm like, I pull up the map, and I'm like, well, where am I going? What am I doing? Do I have to go up? Do I have to go down? Like, it's just a lot.
And it's not a bad game. And I think the reason why I'm so sort of negative on it is because when it hits its highs, which it does at the end, boy does it ever do it at the end.
Well, it does at the beginning too. Like this game kicks off hard.
Ken, when the ending of this game might be my favorite ending to any Metroid game.
Sure, but I mean, it starts off good too.
And like there's some really cool boss fights, like some really good ideas even. Again, there's this weird portion in the middle that just doesn't feel blended in as well. The last Emmy fight, because the last one is actually just kind of a throwaway. But the last real Emmy fight, was satisfying. Like, it felt like the first time I took down an Emmy. And I'm like, it's just this weird this game where it's like, I don't need it to hold my hand, but I also need it to, like, understand that I'm still trying to play the game. Like, let me talk to the computer you have. Like, the computer segments in this game are kind of pointless. Because he tells you have a new power, and that bad things are happening. And then he disappears, and he never gives you any direction. He just, like, you need this power-up. Okay. Alright, goodbye. And then he turns off, and you're like, why did we have this conversation? I'd rather have not known that was a power-up and then just found out later. It's not a bad game. It really isn't. But I see a lot of people outright, like, criticizing people that have any sort of criticism on this game. And I don't think that's... Like, if that's the attitude that this community and, like, Metroid fans are going to have, like, don't be surprised when the next Metroid game people aren't engaging with because, one, they didn't like Dread, and two, because the community then crucified them for not liking Dread. Like, this is how a game series dies based on its fans. But, like, it's not a bad... I haven't heard anyone say this is a 1 out of 10. You know, like, which would be a little bit more absurd. Like, I personally think it's like a 7 out of 10. It's not Metroid's best. It's on the lower end of things for myself. But, like, you know, it can't... I think it's not as good of a game as Other M, but Other M has the worst story. The dumbest trash of... Oh my god. Don't play Other M. Just don't. Don't play Other M is the way... Because it's just not worth it to have, like, this badass character ruined. But, yeah, I went in wanting to love this game. So it's, like, not like anybody can say, like, oh, you just didn't want to like it. Like, Metroid Prime is one of my favorite games of all time. Metroid Zero Mission, Metroid Fusion, also on that list. I know Super Metroid's a lot of people's favorites. I was too used to the additions of, like, the way that the Fusion and Zero Mission control to really ever love Super Metroid as much, but, like, that is also an amazing game, and I just don't think Dread stands up to those titles either. It's on par with, like, Prime Hunters for me, which is a good game, but also has a lot of downfalls. So, I'm really trying to just, like, I hate it because I feel like I'm gonna be, like, attacked for having an opinion on this game.
Well, that's the thing. Just like fucking Plastic Box Warriors. If you like your game, you like your game. If somebody doesn't like it, let it go. Like,
it's like,
you don't argue
and here's the thing. I'm trying to point to the direct spots where I have an issue with it. You can't tell me those spots don't exist when I can point to them and say, like, that's not good. It's not, like, the worst thing ever. I'm not saying, like, shooting at random blocks has totally taken away from my experience, but, like, you take that, you take a lack of direction, and it compounds. And, like, if you can get past that, awesome. Like, I play... There's some... Like, I like Deadly Premonition. I totally understand how, like, people can have problems with video games. And, like, the ability to overlook them. Because Deadly Premonition has a lot of problems, but I love it still. it's okay to have somebody criticize it and you still be like, it doesn't bother me as much. And I say this because, again, Ken and I had a fight with somebody who just did not like the fact that we did not have the best of times with Dread. So, but Ken, I can say this: you need to finish it.
Yeah, I will.
Because
I will
really
finish it.
is. It really is the best, possibly the best ending any Metroid game.
I will definitely go back and finish it.
And it's gonna be weird because the next game, in theory, because I don't know when it's actually gonna happen and come out, is Metroid Prime 4. And remember, Metroid Prime takes place long before Dread. And it's not going to make a lot of sense with some of the stuff that ends up happening in Dread to go back to that.
All right.
The story of this game is so fucking cool. If you like Metroid but you don't have a Switch, and you've heard me talk and you're like, I don't know if I'm into this, at least go and watch a playthrough. And do yourself that favor, so you don't have to suffer through some of the lacking gameplay parts, but you can still enjoy the fucking badass story this game has. I will say that. It is one of my favorite Metroid stories. It felt like watching Aliens again, because Samus is just this badass that does not give a fuck. Oh, that is the takeaway, though. Like, it's okay, but the story's really good. And then the last game, because like this week's been kind of chaos, as I'll just say it now. I handed in my resignation because I'm starting a new job in the next 2 weeks, or actually over the next 2 weeks, whatever. But is Tetris Effect on Switch, because I can only buy that game so many times. I own it on the PS4. I bought it on the PC. I've played the Xbox version because it's part of Game Pass. And then I bought it on the Switch. And it's still fucking amazing. So here's the thing that I have not experienced with the Switch, because I don't feel like anything really uses it. HD Rumble.
I mean, 1-2 Switch did.
Okay, well...
Oh, Mario
Who
Odyssey
played...
does. Mario Odyssey does.
Sure, okay, I guess so. I don't think it stood out to me as much in Odyssey as it does with this, where it sounds like a car accelerating. It makes sound. Like, I can hear it go... Like, so... It's pulsing to the music because, of course, this is the same team that did Rez, so of course it has to. But when you're going through the story mode, like, you'll finish a section, and then they'll kind of zoom into the next area, and the feeling the controller made was so crazy. I was like, this is why HD Rumble exists. This is absolutely insane. Yeah, man, I love Tetris Effect. I think it's one of the best Tetris games ever made. Because not only does it have multiplayer now, and it's got the story mode that's really neat. It has Master Mode, and I know I've talked about Master Mode before, but Master Mode is like the closest thing you can get to Tetris Grandmaster without buying like one of the extremely expensive arcade boards, or somehow getting a copy of the 360 Tetris Grandmaster, which is like Tetris at the most extreme difficulty. Master Mode in this is very similar to that, and like it's the blocks are at the bottom, like immediately. There's no fall animation. They're there, and you have seconds to decide where it's going, and like it is super satisfying to do well in that mode. But yeah, that's it for me. Like I've done a bit of Picross and stuff, which is, how many times can we go over that? But yeah, it's just been a week of disappointment in terms of video games, and it's just because I haven't had time to play better things. I did, however, pick up Unsighted, which is a game I also played on the... So when I played one of those times I played a bunch of demos on Steam, I played Unsighted, and it had a Zelda Metroid vibe to it, but what I didn't know is that it's on a timer. So if you're not there at certain times, you'll miss events. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I can deal with that because I hate the FOMO feeling of video games. Except ones that are on a loop. Like Majora's Mask, I don't have an issue because I'll just get it the next time through. But they've just recently did an update to remove that if you want. So I'm gonna try it with it on, and then if I hate it, I'll just play the normal version. Or the version without the timer.
Should have just played it on Game Pass, see if you liked it.
No, I liked the game. It was just more of like I was going to buy it because I wanted it on Switch. It wasn't the. It was just I was waiting because I was like, I don't know if I want to play it with a timer, and I was like, maybe I'll play it on Game Pass. And as soon as they're like, we've now have a mode that turns the timer off, I was like, it's an instant buy because the demo. So the demo for that and the demo for Unmetal were the two standouts for me from whatever time I did that. And obviously Unmetal's fantastic. I just haven't played more of it, unfortunately. Yeah, that's it for me. I'm sorry for going on about a game that it sounds like I don't like, which is Metroid Dread, but I really do love moments of that game. I just wish all of it kind of rose higher to meet those moments. Ken, it's your turn now.
Yeah, see, here's the funny thing. Y'all two wouldn't shut the fuck up. So it's a good thing that I can't talk about the game that I played the most this week.
And you were trying to speed me up. See how I've worked out?
Hey, between the two of you ran an hour and 20 minutes talking about video games.
Okay, well, one of us took way more, and it wasn't me.
You both took about the same time. You both took about 40
Fuck you,
minutes.
Ken. Let me dog on Drew, right?
Drew's asleep. He's not even here anymore.
That's fair.
I am so sick of hearing you guys talk about Metroid Dread.
Drew's never buy a Metroid Dread.
It's the reason why.
Why would I?
It's the reason why I said just get Far Cry.
Yeah.
All right. So I can't even tell you what I'm playing. I can't talk about what I'm playing, and that's what I've spent probably 13, 14 hours playing this week. So I'll just go through a couple little games that I played. We talked about Metroid. We talked about Back 4 Blood. I am playing more of Unmetal. Actually, before I got this game that I'm playing, that's the game that I was kind of trying to work through. I think I'm about an hour in now. I've taken out the first boss, which is Grenade Guy. And
That is a great segment where he's adding things and the guy just goes, I'm going to leave that out.
yeah, I'm going to leave that out of the report. Drew, I cannot continue to suggest that you pick this game up. Being a fan of Metal Gear like me, you need to play this game.
Okay. All right.
It is super awesome. I love everything about it so far, and it plays wonderfully. Like it feels really good to play. What else did I play? I tried that Ring of Pain that's on Game Pass, and it's a roguelike card game, and I fucking deleted that so fast.
Dream heard of it.
Yeah, it went on Game Pass the same day as Riftbreaker, which I also tried out. Riftbreaker is cool if you're into kind of tower defense meets like a Diablo style action game where you're like running around on this planet with a mech and you can build a base and do some like resource mining and then build up defenses for like waves of enemies to come in. Like that game is really cool. Like I like the concept of it. I do wish it was a little more explanatory on like how to do things. So like when they first drop you in, they're like, go find some of this resource, but then like I couldn't tell what was giving me the resource. So it felt really confusing. Like I just wish there was a little more tutorialization for that game because I think what it does is really cool. I would just like to better know how to do the things it wants me to do. Ancient Stories Gods of Egypt is a straight up like slide block puzzle game like Bejeweled. So it just is what it is. Grey Lancer is a 2D shmup, like horizontal shooter. It's wonderful, but it's also extremely hard. I think I got owned really fast within the first level so many times, but it's a fantastic one of those, which there's a lot of those now, which is good. Henchman Story is like a game where you play the henchman of this bad guy, and it's like a point and click kind of game where you go off to be your own henchman. It's fine. Xerthos, the Heir of Thunder, is the cheapest Diablo clone I've ever seen in my life. And then probably the other big game that I played this week for review is called Circuit Superstars. So this game is weird. Like, I got a press release about it. I didn't even know it was coming out. This game, like fully engulfs the classic RC Pro-Am feel, where you're like from the top-down perspective, kind of like at an angle, and you've got different kinds of car racing. So you've got everything from like standard street racing to rally racing to formula racing. So the weird thing is this game's from Square Enix. So take that how you will.
Who directed it? Who developed it?
Oh, I need to find the developer real quick.
Original Fire Games.
Yeah.
Original Fire Games.
What else have they made since you have them up?
Circuit Superstars.
Well, I'll tell you what, for being their first game, this game is fantastic. If you are into kind of that RC Pro-Am style of racing, but also really appreciate kind of like a high difficulty ceiling. So like this game can be really challenging, like white knuckle racing, to where like when I'm playing, like my body is tense because the races are so, like the AI is so good in this game, and you have to take every turn perfectly. And it's not difficult. There's literally just steering, gas, and brake.
Yeah, that's still not my jam.
And that's fine if you're not into that kind of stuff, but what I love about this game is just how it feels, like the way it plays. Like, it feels wonderful, it looks great. I love that there's so many different styles of racing, but it is definitely a challenge. So I'm going through currently like the easiest difficulty. So it's kind of like Mario Kart. You've got different races for different styles, and then each one has like 3 or 4 different difficulties, and with each difficulty it gets harder. And even in the easy mode, like, I am not finishing first in every race. Like, it's one of those racing games where if you mess up, you're going to fall back 4 or 5 spots, but at the same time, unless you're on, like, the last stretch, you always have a chance to catch up. Like, the catch-up AI is very good. So
I looked up the studio, and what an interesting... So it's 3 siblings that started it, and they are they're published by Square Enix because it's part of the Square Enix collective.
Yeah, like the indie developer kind of thing they have.
And apparently they secured the Top Gear license.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a DLC for the Top Gear. So when they sent me the code initially, it was for the original game. And then PR reached back out. They're like, "Do you want the Top Gear stuff?" And I said, "Sure, I'll take a look at it." So they had to give me another piece. So the game is, I think, $20 straight out of the gate, and I think with the DLC it might be 25 or 30. But if you're into kind of that RC Pro-Am style racing game, I haven't played one this good probably since the golden age of arcade racing. Like, it's very good. Here's another really weird part about this game. Like you said, it's published by Square Enix, right? It's only on Xbox and PC. I don't...
Wow, what a weird...
Dude, it came out of nowhere. Like, I got a PR release about it the day it came out. Like, I didn't even know this game existed. They're like, "You want to check it out?" So I looked at a video and I was like, "Oh shit, I love these kind of isometric racing games." Like, they're kind of like a little guilty pleasure for me. I've always enjoyed them. Like, I love Super Off-Road. I love RC Pro-Am. Like, I love those kind of games. And this one is probably the best one I've played, and I couldn't tell you how long. Like, it's super cool.
Huh.
So, color that my shocking out of left field game that I didn't plan on playing that now I'm really enjoying. So, but that's it. That's pretty much what I've done this week outside of...
You didn't try The Good Life?
I booted it up and I didn't play it. So maybe I'll get to it this week.
And because I realized I hadn't installed it and I turned on my Xbox to do so, I also saw, and this is just a recommendation for people, if you like point-and-click adventures and comedy, The Procession to Cavalry is available.
Oh yeah, that went on Game Pass this week alongside something else. Maybe
Which
it was
is-
that Ring of whatever fucking game.
Ring of Pain, yeah. is
Yeah,
up there,
that
too.
game. That game is bad. I don't like that game at all.
The thing with Procession to Cavalry, which is like, I think the third game the guy's done with that. He takes original paintings and animates them, like
Yeah, Yeah,
old paintings.
it's an interesting looking game. It's not my jam, so I didn't bother with it. But yeah, Circuit Superstars, wonderful. Unmetal, wonderful. Pretty much everything else I talked about is just kind of blah. I did not get to try The Good Life. I want to try it. I'm afraid of The Good Life because Sweary's games run like shit.
Yep.
So I'm afraid. And the funny thing is this one's optimized for Series X.
Wait, that's a sweary game.
Yeah, The Good Life
Yeah.
is a Sweary game, and it's on Game
That's
Pass.
his White Owl's studio or whatever. That was the one that he
That looks almost like a mobile game or something.
Yeah,
Isn't this the one that he like crowdfunded?
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Well, it's on Game Pass, so he got some money there.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about what's coming out this week. Drew,
Yeah.
you and I might have to do something this week.
Oh, good.
And it's something that I think we've both forgotten is even happening.
Uh-huh.
The Dark Pictures anthology House of Ashes is out this week.
Holy
Oh
shit.
God.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, it's out on Friday.
Don't stick me with the review for this one, please.
Oh, well, I guess we'll see what happens with this game. Like, I feel like even how bad the last one was, I gotta keep playing these.
I didn't think the last one was overly bad.
It
Dude,
never
they're-
explained the demon, Drew. It never explained the demon.
Yeah.
That is the biggest, because everything else, I'm like, you know what? Everything has to have an ending just because I don't like it. But then to be like, no, earlier on, this was very clearly a thing, and you just, never mind that. Don't pay attention to that. Please forget
Yeah.
that we did that as we did.
Yeah, Little Hope was definitely the most Twilight Zone of the Twilight Zone. Like that totally felt like a Twilight Zone ending.
Yep. Oh, also, for next week, Anthony, I know you and I will appreciate this, even though you don't have one. If you have not bought Pumpkin Jack yet, it is getting a next-gen console upgrade next week for free for anybody who bought it. So, Drew, if you haven't played Pumpkin Jack, pick it up on Series X next week.
I have not played Pumpkin Jack.
It's so good.
I'm like, I don't remember what I gave that, a 9.5. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's about right.
That game is so good. Because the PR guy reached out and he's like, do you want a code for the Series X version? I was like, well, if I have the one on Xbox because we all bought it last year when we were talking about it, he's like, yeah, it's a free upgrade, so you'll just get the free upgrade. But
There you go.
that game is so good. That's next week. This week, Xbox getting some weird games, man. Xbox Series X and S and PS5 are getting Corpse Party this week. You remember that game?
Yeah, I reviewed that game. A
Yeah.
long time ago on the PSP.
Yeah, they're still making those.
They're not still making those. They're still remaking that because it's
Yeah.
the same game.
I thought
Isn't
they
that an
made
RPG
more of them.
Maker game?
What's that?
So
Wasn't that originally an RPG Maker game?
a Wii. Yes, it was. And then it was ported to the PSP through custom firmware.
Isn't it very
And then
horny?
they got an official version.
Yes.
That's coming
Not
out-
we're nowhere near the normal levels of horny that we have to talk about in the new releases segment, but
Well, that's what segment we're in.
oh, well then yes, I suppose it's that game for the
This
week.
game's never been on Xbox. Like Xbox is getting a lot of. So it got it's the Somnium Files a couple weeks ago, and now it's getting Corpse Party. So a lot of these weird Japanese games making their way to Xbox, which I find. I guess that's what Phil's having meetings in Tokyo about, so he can get some hornier games.
If there's one thing I had to give Corpse Party, it was that even though I was sitting there on a PSP playing it, there was some creepy ass shit in that game.
I think this is a remake of the 3DS game.
Okay,
Okay.
it's just called Corpse Party, and then in parentheses 2021. That's what it's called.
Well, what I'm saying is though it's I believe it's the 3DS one because they remade it and it was fully polygonal.
Huh.
I believe that's this version.
Yeah, this one straight up looked like the one I reviewed was like it was made in RPG Maker.
Yeah, I believe you
Gotcha.
played the first remake, if it was the PSP one.
Yeah.
It's had a couple.
All right.
I had a friend that was obsessed with it, so.
We're also getting Energy Cycle, Sheepo, Silver Chains. That's not the. No, that's the. Never mind. I thought that was the Suda game. I'm like, no, that's not it. Disciples Liberation. That Stranger Things. Fucking Voxel RPG Echo Generation is out this week. Energy Cycle Edge, whatever the difference between that is. Switch over to PS5 real quick. Is there anything different on that one? We've got Gas Guzzlers Extreme because, for some reason, Kiwi, Poker Club, and Jumanji the video game. Okay.
What?
Yeah.
Like based on
The one that came out with The Rock that was terrible?
Yeah, I think
What?
it's probably just a PS5 version of that.
Oh, I don't even know if they added multiplayer to that like they were supposed to.
Oh, the game you meant was terrible. I was like, no, that movie was great.
No, the movie's great,
No,
but
no,
the
no,
game
no,
was
no,
not.
Yeah, the game wasn't finished.
Yeah.
No.
PS4 and Xbox One. A lot of the same stuff. Kiwi, Poker Club. We've got the Caligula Effect 2, YouTuber's Life 2.
Oh boy.
Corpse Party is coming to the PS4 as well.
I just imagine a random event that could occur is you've been canceled for saying the N-word.
Oh wow. Horizon Chase Turbo is getting a DLC. Senna Forever.
That was a pretty good callback to PewDiePie.
Yes.
Or was it PewDiePie? I don't remember. It's all blends
Yes.
into one.
I mean,
nightmare.
there's probably a bunch of them. That is,
yeah.
There's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of assholes out there.
Sheepo,
Heated gamer moments.
Disciples, Liberation, Evertried, Skull, the Hero Slayer, Tandem, A Tale of Shadows, Toy Soldiers HD. Remember that game? That's coming back.
I believe you said that the exact same way the last time we brought it up.
It must have got delayed because here it is again.
So you're like, Toy Soldiers, remember that game?
Remember that game? I remember the version that had He-Man and G.I. Joe. That version was rad.
Yeah, that was the one.
Second one.
Yeah. Like, that shit was cool, but I don't know, the original Toy Soldiers was okay. My game of the year, My Friend Peppa Pig, is out this week.
Maybe you should try Mario. Yeah.
Switch over to Xbox. Is there anything different over here? We've got Princess Loot Pixel again, whatever the hell that is. Into the Pit. That's the roguelike, like Heretic style game that was shown by, was it Humble? I think Humble's publishing that. Murder Diaries 2. And that's it for PS4 and Xbox One. Time for the Switch. Time for the Switch. We've got Extreme Race. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Sora is dropping on Monday, I guess. Angry Alligator. Duo Zombies. Dying Light Platinum Edition. Regency Solitaire. Bats Bloodsucker Anti-Terror Squad. That sounds like a game I should play. Because I think it's like literal bats that are anti-terror squad.
Okay.
Crazy Gravity. Jars. Spectacular Sparky. Indo Crysis. Howling Village Echoes. Monimals. Sakura Nova. Mini Golf Adventure. Pro Flight Simulator, and Reminiscence in the Night. I didn't see a horny game in there. I mean, Course Party's coming to Switch, but you know. Yeah, that artwork for Bats looks like a game I need to play. Look at that.
Even
Yeah, it's insane.
Even the in-game artwork looks crazy. Impressed.
Yeah, I want to play that game. I'm going to check that game out. All right, I got notes for news. Ready for news? News.
Sure.
They had a conference this week with the developers of Final Fantasy XIV, and the Xbox version came up again. Apparently, they're still in conversations. It's going positively. Maybe that game comes to Xbox at some fucking point. Who knows? FIFA. I don't know if you heard, but EA is talking about getting rid of the FIFA name, and it's because FIFA wants $1 billion.
Holy crap.
Talk about overestimating your part in this.
Yeah. So EA is probably not going to pay that, and it's probably just going to
Now-
be called like EA Football or something.
I wonder, which it'll still sell. Now, somebody has pointed out that like it could cause for the first little bit confusion, because then FIFA just offers their name to somebody else and they pick it up and throw out whatever and people buy that instead. However, I think also that is
Who's
saying
going to
that
pay
a
$1
lot of
billion
people are
that has a soccer game on the market?
Well, what I think is happening is either EA is not EA. FIFA is overestimating their worth, which wouldn't surprise me. It's probably the answer. Or alternatively, they really don't want to be partnered with EA anymore, and they rather have their license be out to multiple people, like MLB.
It's possible.
So, because remember, FIFA is only through EA.
Yeah,
So
but there's
anything
only
that's
2
mobile-
soccer games, and the other one kind of sucks.
You're right, but anything that's mobile has to be done by EA as well.
Well, I guess there is
And
that.
mobile's a big market, right? So
True. LucasArts is doing a build-up, and supposedly there might be a new Star Wars game announced in December. They got a controller for like December 19th or something like that. So maybe it's Ubisoft's game. Maybe it's a new game. It's not Jedi Fallen Order from what I hear. And I don't think it's KOTOR either. Maybe KOTOR gets gameplay. I don't know. Tencent still throwing their money around. They invested 22% into Bloober Team.
sure.
Monster Hunter Rise is coming to PC, Drew, but it will not have cross-save or cross-progression.
Yeah, and I've put way too much time into the Switch version to do that.
Yeah, I think that was a lot of people's... Like, they wanted to play that version for the frame rate increase and the resolution increase, but since they can't transfer, those 20, 30, 40, 60-plus hours over to that version, that they're just not going to bother. And I think that's a big miss on Capcom's part, because if you'd put that in, you got a shitload of double dips.
No, you'd have a ton of double dips.
So,
But, I mean, because I would love to play that game at, 60 frames a second.
Yep, exactly. And I think a lot of people do, and I think a lot of Monster Hunter fans, I've heard that same sentiment that I'm not doing this over. So
Yeah. And there's a ton of people that still play Monster Hunter World on PC.
yeah, because of that frame rate, baby.
Exactly. Like, the Monster Hunter World, that's the place to play that game.
Yeah. 5-year anniversary for PSVR. Sony has announced that they will be giving away 3 free games with PS Plus for the PSVR in November. One of those is not Astrobot. You missed the point. Tango Gameworks has confirmed that they have 3 games in development. I'm assuming that includes Ghostwire Tokyo. So they've got 2 other games. Question is one of them Evil Within 3?
I would like to think.
I hope so. Like, that game got progressively better. Like, the first one was good. The second one was great. The third one could be a classic.
Yeah, I think so.
So, I would love to see a new Evil Within. I'm excited for Ghostwire Tokyo, even though I don't really know what it is yet. But I would love to see Evil Within 3. Do you need a mini fridge?
No.
Well, the Xbox made one that looks like a Series X, and then pre-orders go live on Tuesday. It is $99, which is a lot cheaper than I thought it was going to be, but it also only holds 12 cans of soda.
I'm good.
I don't need that.
I have a mini fridge in my office. It holds a lot more than 12 cans of soda, and it even has a freezer. So,
What? I was thinking I'll just
kind.
What's that?
buy the next Call of Duty.
What'd you say, Drew?
I said, it sounds like you got the best kind.
I did. My wife got it for me for Christmas. And I keep my soda in there. I keep my Reese cups in there, because that's, you keep Reese cups in a cold environment. I keep ice cream in the freezer. Anytime I need a drink, it's right there, man. I gotta take one step to get refreshment. Excuse me. Fallout 3 finally removed games for Windows Live.
no longer do we have to patch it out.
Yep, it's just gone now, so you can go play it the way God intended without Games for Windows Live. According to Jez Corden of Windows Central, only 1/3 of Xbox's pipeline of games have been announced. So there are still 2/3, which seems crazy to me because they've announced a ton of shit. Now, granted, we're not going to play most of this for a long time. We'll get 2 Bethesda games in 2022 between Redfall and Starfield. I'm assuming Perfect Dark and Fable are beyond 2022. I saw that what's the We Happy Few people? Compulsion. Compulsion is working on a new third-person game, single-player third-person adventure. We gotta assume that Halo's out this year, Forza's out this year. The Coalition is doing something, right? No, the Coalition's doing Perfect Dark. What's the Gear studio? I'm sorry. Is that the Coalition?
It is the Coalition.
Who's the Perfect Dark studio? What's that studio called?
Dude, it's something like that.
The Collective.
The Collective?
Yeah, and they're working with Crystal Dynamics on Perfect Dark. So who else? So, like, what is Double Fine doing? I'm assuming they're working on a new game. We know that Obsidian is... What's that?
It's The Initiative.
The Initiative. You're right. Sorry.
But it's terrible. Again, it's terrible name.
Avowed is coming. We know about that game. That's from Obsidian. Who else do they have? Ninja Theory's working on Hellblade 2. We know about that. I was trying to think about who else they had that could announce a game. I mean, they've got a bunch of those RPG studios. Obsidian working on Avowed. What's the other one they have? The Pillars of Eternity.
Grounded. Pillars of Eternity.
Who's the other studio? It's Obsidian and what's the other one? The other RPG, Western RPG team? Fuck.
I mean, it's not Larian.
No, it's not Larian. It's an older one. They own both of those studios that did like a bunch of the old Western RPGs that are not BioWare.
I have no idea.
Fuck. I know you know who I'm talking about. If I said it, you'd be like, oh, those guys.
So
You
here's
can't think of
Xbox Game Studios. We got 343,
Okay.
Coalition,
Okay.
Compulsion, Double Fine, The Initiative, In Exile.
In Exile. That's the one.
Yeah, Mojang, Ninja Theory, Obsidian, Playground, Rare, Turn 10, Undead Labs, World's Edge.
The fuck is World's Edge?
Age of Empires.
Ah, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. And then all of ZeniMax.
So if only 1/3 of the games are announced, well, they're working with a lot of studios to do third-party stuff too. Like that IO game still hasn't been announced, the Dragon game. And then, what's it, Avalanche is doing Contraband. So, like, do they have other studios doing stuff for them? Like, I don't, like, besides In Exile and Double Fine, like, I don't know what else you got. Anyway, a couple more stories. Dragon Age 4 has been reported to be coming only to PS5 and Series X. There will not be a PS4 and Xbox One version of that game. All right, let's talk about the
So
big
far
one.
away, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
What's not yet?
Okay, you got
Blue
something
Box
else?
Studios
What's that?
says that Blue Box Studios says that they have been dealing with death threats recently. Now, death threats are never good, obviously. But this is one of those scenarios of, I don't know what you thought you were doing.
That whole situation is bad. We haven't talked about that since that crappy teaser came out.
And that's just it. Like, you led people on, and, you know, people keep going back to they said they weren't related, but then they just kept feeding into it. Then they released the trailer online, and then they're like, you'll be able to, like, try it out. So all these people tried to download, but it didn't work right away, and then it finally worked, and it was the same clip that they had online.
Yeah.
And, like, from a studio that has never produced anything, like, like, don't fucking give death threats, but at the same time, like,
That game
What?
is
How did-
nothing. That game is a nothing.
Well, that's
burger.
just it, right? Like, and they're like, the Twitter account says like, people here. I'm like, it's one person. It's like, what are we talking about? Like, like, just stop lying about like this game that doesn't exist.
So
You know?
regardless, fuck anybody who's doing death threats.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
For sure, but it's like one of those things where it's like, I fuck those people, but at the same time, this is the internet, and unfortunately, like, this wasn't your first day out on the internet. Like, I don't...
Yeah, you fucked over people many times before.
And yeah, you this is not the first time you've tried this fucking grift. And it's a grift. It's not. I'm not trying to be mean. Like, you've done this multiple times, and then this time it was too big for you to handle.
That's
And I
because you
don't
got
even
Code
get the point
Jimbles
of it.
involved.
I don't even understand the point. Like, what did he get? Because he wasn't getting money for this.
No, well, he got backed by Sony. Like, Sony put it on their blog, so I'm wondering if they invested something in this. Maybe they got grifted too. I don't know.
Or maybe it's like there's a tax cut sort of, or funding, because the government here kind of does that too.
Oh yeah, like
Although it's
if
usually
you
tax
show
reductions,
proof
but
of concept, you get
there's
some
grants.
money. Yeah,
Because that's how Amico is, Intellivision's getting some of their games made, is a grant through like Bavarian games grant or art grant or something like that, is how they're doing a bunch of those. But it's just like, I read it and I'm like, I feel bad, but then like part of my brain just says, I don't. Just pack it up, man. Like, pack it up. Like, you were gone, and you should have just packed it up. Like, you're way over your head here.
also, people
know?
on the internet, I say this every week, don't take video games so goddamn seriously.
I mean, that too. It was just one of those things where I read it and I'm like, first of all, why are you as someone that like always thought this was bullshit? Like, if you're sending death threats to this man, you're the idiot. Like, it just proves that you're not only just a piece of shit, you're an idiot. Like, it was kind of clear that this was like not a thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, anyways, I couldn't believe it, because I think it was like a week ago that we kind of mentioned it to each other, Ken, like, that just disappeared, huh?
Yeah, like that thing just like when I saw that tweet last night, I was actually close to getting ready to go to bed. And I saw that tweet pop up. I was like, "Oh fuck, I forgot about," because I had been following their Twitter account just for the lulz. And I see that, and I'm like, "Oh, that's right. That thing still supposedly exists."
It's just like, the whole thing's just kind of embarrassing on every level. Not just for him, but for like video game players everywhere.
I mean, fanboys just take it to a whole new level. The only reason this thing
They
got
have no sense of embarrassment.
this thing got traction because it's connected to Kojima and it was a PlayStation exclusive. Like, I don't know how many times I see people champion, like, when a developer's like, "Well, I'm going to work with PlayStation because that's where I feel like it's the best place." They're like, "Haha, see, yeah, I told you." I was like, why do you put yourself out there for $1 million corporations that don't give a flying fuck about you? I don't understand why you feel a sense of victory when capitalism wins.
Yeah.
Like, well, how is that a victory? Like, a game goes to Game Pass and they're like, "Fuck this game. Don't buy this game because it's on Game Pass." What was it I saw? Did you all see the leaked video of Elden Ring?
Yeah.
So there's a comment on that video where a guy is like, "Sony should have kept this exclusive because then it would have looked better." And I'm just like, what?
That game looked beautiful.
And I'm just like, but even at the same time, how does keeping it exclusive to PlayStation make it somehow more beautiful? I don't understand that comment. I mean, he obviously had a Kratos avatar because, you can immediately tell a lot about a person.
Let me guess, it was a Kratos, but it was the the original God of War Kratos?
No, it's the new Kratos.
Oh, really? Because I thought he was going to be an edgelord.
No, this is... I mean, he probably is, but...
You know what I mean.
Yeah, no.
Thought the avatar would match the
The avatar would match the
Character.
drapes.
Jesus.
That's the tagline for the show. The avatar matches the drapes.
No,
That
no,
reminds
it's not.
me of a meme. There's a Overwatch meme. They're saying everybody who plays Reaper is an edgelord, and it shows like play of the game with Reaper, and it shows the person's gamer tag, and it's like Silent Killer and like Deathman 4000, and then the last one just says Dave.
Dave, you know, Dave. Dave is the biggest edgelord. You have no idea.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my God, these people on the internet, dude. I just your loyalty to a plastic box and $1 billion corporation is the dumbest fucking shit. Put it on your resume. Tell your loved ones how you feel about video games. See if they give you a look of disdain.
I get to a point now. I said it on Twitter. I just block those people. If I see somebody just replying to something with better,
Some of us have better judgment skills.
I have no problem just blocking that person.
Some
I'll
of us
never interact
engage
with
with
them.
those people.
That dude like seeked out my tweet, and like I was making jokes and he was like taking it seriously. He's like getting mad. I was like,
I argued with him, and then I just got tired with him.
I just like he said something to me. I was like, who hurt you? Like
I
who
said, hopefully a
hurt you?
bus.
Like who hurt you deeply that you got to get like all mad about video games? Like, dude,
That's all he does. So
yeah, you play
you
him.
know, and it's like
Like his
it's-
Twitter account should have thrown you off, Anthony, because all he does is argue
One
with
follower.
people, and he has one follower, and he doesn't follow anybody.
I know.
Like that
They
should.
just-
You saw how he responded when I called him the C word,
Yes, I did.
and he got really angry.
I don't know,
I was just
man.
tired of dealing with him.
I don't understand why people are so mad about video games. I just don't.
No. And that's the reason why I felt bad for me going off on Metroid, is like I feel like I'm just angry over something that's not important, but I'm disappointed. Not the only time I think I've really been angry over a video game was Disaster Report 4.
Hold on, Anthony, because I'm going to seg right into this. You want to talk about people being mad about video
Oh,
games? Let's
fuck.
do the
No,
last
I
news
know what
piece.
it is. No.
We're going to talk about it. So Nintendo finally announced the pricing for the Switch Online expansion. If you want them N64 and Genesis games, the price of Nintendo Switch Online is going up from $20 a year for a single account to $50 a year, or from $35 a year for a family account to $80 a year.
$100 in Canada for a family account.
That's more than Xbox Live and PlayStation Network Plus.
Yeah.
And they're on. When's the last time you used chat on the Switch? Oh wait.
When's the last time? Well played. I was gonna say, when's the last time like you really were excited for the new game getting announced? Also, when was the last time new games got announced?
Well,
And that's my biggest issue with this, is that I don't mind if it's a good price, right? Because like, let's not compare this to Xbox Live for a moment. Let's
I know.
compare this more to Game Pass. Every month, Game Pass has at least something added to it. Whether or not you like it, it's every month. It's every 3 months, 4 months with Switch. Like,
And what was the last one? The last one had 3 games like
Bluey.
nobody had ever heard of.
sorry, it was Bomboozle, which is Bluey, and that's the only one I knew.
And nobody else knows that but you.
Jelly Boy, I think was the other one.
What's the clay game? What was the clay game?
Claymates.
Claymates.
That's right, I do know Claymates.
Yeah.
So, but it's like, the only one I'm going to defend is Bomboozle, but not enough to be like, this is worth it, when this is the first update in 3 months.
Now, we should be fair and note that if you buy this pass, you also get access to the new paid Animal Crossing DLC, which is $25 on its
Or-
own.
I could just buy that DLC on its own.
You
Yeah,
could.
That's true too.
You could.
And the biggest part of that is, you're asking this much money, you're including, and it's probably because you're including DLC that not everybody has the base game for.
Well, not only that, but who wants it? Like,
So Like,
maybe even if I own Animal Crossing, but do I want that DLC? No, I don't.
and if this was the way that they were going to deliver DLC from now on, it'd be far more interesting.
Yes, if they said so here's a big one. If they'd have come out and said if you subscribe to this, you also get the fighter passes for Smash Brothers. Like that'd have been a big deal.
Or I was thinking because that one at least has like all their licensing involved, so maybe that's not a thing that they could do. But even like, you buy this and you get the pass for the next Mario game, DLC pass for the next Mario or Zelda or whatever, any game that they have, the next Splatoon, right? There's going to be paid DLC eventually. You get it for free with this. I'd be like that. Then that works itself out. But like.
Or if you had more than 10 Nintendo 64 games you were offering. Let's be fair. That opening selection of N64 games is missing some really, really big names.
And even the Genesis stuff, like, really? That's not a big enough inclusion. Now, I know this sounds weird because, like, people are going to be like, really, though? That those aren't great. But, like, even going as so far to add Master System, something that less people have experience with, would have boosted the value to something I can understand.
Up front, $50 is a lot for what they're offering, especially if you're not interested in that Animal Crossing DLC.
Yeah.
My question is, can I just stick with what I've got right now?
Yes, that's still an option. This is an expansion to that.
Okay, so I can still just pay, what is it, $20 a year?
$20 a year for Super Nintendo and Nintendo.
Here's my thing. If you're going to start charging upwards to $70, how about you have an actual invite system to parties? How about you have an actual in-game chat for people?
Do you want me to answer that question?
Go for it.
Nintendo has seen the numbers. Nobody fucking plays online on the Switch.
Exactly. So, I don't know. But at the time, 64 and Gen games. That's it?
Yeah, 64 and Genesis, and I think the initial selection is, correct me if I'm wrong, Anthony, I think it's like 10 N64 games and like maybe a little less than 20 Genesis games.
You're asking the wrong person. I didn't pay enough attention.
Okay.
And there's some key games. Like I was more impressed with some of the selection of the games. You're gonna have your obvious ones like
Are you talking 64 Genesis?
Both. I mean, Musha
64, you're going to get Ocarina and Mario 64. Those are the big ones. Sin and Punishment was a shocker for me.
Yeah, like
I think Bloodlines.
Dr. Mario, I think, is the first time Dr. Mario 64 is being included, which is apparently the best version.
But like, you didn't have to pay for licensing for that because you fucking own it.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're not wrong. Here, I'm just looking at. Wow, it's even less. So the titles that are coming out at launch: Dr. Mario 64, Mario Kart 64, Mario Tennis, Sin and Punishment, Star Fox 64, Super Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, Win Back, and Yoshi's Story. So
Win Back is like sitting out there by itself. Like, why the fuck is this here?
So Dr. Mario 64, great. Mario Kart
Win
64,
Back.
I understand. Mario Tennis, like, weird thing, but like I watch a lot of YouTube channels about weird video game stuff, and like, is it going to be the complete version of Mario Tennis with the Game Boy characters unlocked, or is it just going to be another, like, give me the full version of this, please. Sin and Punishment, cool. Star Fox 64, the 3DS version's better. Just reissue that, please. Super Mario 64, fine, but it was included in this set.
Which you can't buy anymore, by the way.
Yeah, well, you can go into any used game shop and get a copy of it.
Yeah, but Nintendo fans don't buy used games, remember?
Well, they're dumb. Ocarina of Time, fine, but can we get the 3DS remake, please, on a console? Win Back, the PS2. There's a PS2 version of Win Back.
Yeah.
So like the N64 version, okay, but there's again, and Yoshi's Story. I know some people love it, but it's not. But it's by far one of the lesser Yoshi titles. And then the Genesis lineup, like, Castlevania Bloodlines and Contra Hardcore, they have their own collections on the Switch, and those include the Japanese versions of those titles, which are far more fair to play, as well as like the European version of Contra Hardcore, which is Probotector Hardcore, which is all robots. Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. How many Puyo Puyo games are available on Switch
I don't know.
that are less ugly? Echo the Dolphin is not good. I love it, but it's not good.
It's never been
Golden
good.
Axe. Enough with Golden Axe.
Give me
Gunstar
Golden
Heroes-
Axe Beast Rider now.
Oh god, damn it. Gunstar Heroes, cool, but I'm pretty sure it's on the Genesis collection. Musha is the rare one. Phantasy Star 4 is great, but like, it's number 4. And it's an RPG, which the emulation, the Genesis collection that is like, okay, emulation, has Phantasy Star 2, 3, and 4. So the only one that you would have to buy is the Sega Ages version of Phantasy Star 1, which is the better way to play it. Rise Star, sure. At this point, I think
I thought
like,
you were
if
going to
haven't
bust
played
out into Rising Zan, Samurai Gunman.
it. Shining Force, again, fine. Shinobi 3, fine. Sonic the Hedgehog 2, get the Sega Ages version. Streets of Rage 2, fine. But like, and Strider, and it's just like, a lot of these games have been released before, and it's like, I don't.
But you
Outside
can buy a
of Musha-
$50 wireless Genesis controller with 3
yeah,
buttons.
those are absurd. But like, I just said to my friend, I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna update it. Like, I'd rather spend the money on getting because I pay for, he pays for Spotify, I'm on his family plan, I'm paying for Switch Online, he's on my family plan, and I was like, I'll upgrade. But the only thing that we could see being worthwhile is Dr. Mario 64.
Is that worth $100 a year for you?
And that's just it. I said, like, I'd be better off just buying you an EverDrive or whatever for the N64. That price. It's like, I don't.
Yeah. So one of the things I want to address is I saw a lot of the positivity only people out there being like, well, if you don't like it, don't pay for it. Like, no, that's not how criticism works. And here's the thing. I'm going to pay for it because I'm a sucker. And I know Drew's
You are.
not, and I know Anthony's probably not. But I'm going to pay for it because $50 a year, when I have to pay it, is the only time I notice it. But that doesn't mean that I think it's a good price. It's a bad price for what they're offering. Now, if they bulk up that N64 library to like 100 games in the first year or two, okay. If they bulk up that Genesis library, okay. If they start offering more DLC, okay. Just because I'm stupid enough to pay for it and don't think you should, because it isn't worth it to most people, doesn't make it just okay. Like, I saw some people out there saying, they're like, oh, I think this is a fair price. No, it is not.
If they bulked up, and I know it's included in the original, but if the weird offsetting of like costs, like with people subscribing to the expansion pack, like offsets the cost to get games on Super Nintendo and NES that aren't there right now, or more often,
Yes.
like, I'd be more inclined to pay more still.
With 4 systems on your service, I better get fucking monthly drops of nearly 10 games a month.
Listen, at this point, let's not even aim that high. Let's aim for 3 a month. Because that's all they do every 3 months, is drop like 3.
Yeah, but initially they were doing 3 a month. At minimum, sometimes
But
4.
what I'm saying is like, let's aim to get back to 3 a month instead of 3 a quarter. Like 10 a month, what clearly is out of the possibility because they can't handle 3. So,
Christ.
but like, and then looking at it, it's like, yeah, you get your save and suspend, which sure, an online multiplayer, which, hey, cool for Mario Kart 64, but Mario Kart 8 exists. But the option to rewind is only Sega Genesis, not 64. They can't figure that out, apparently. Like, I just, it's weird stuff where I'm like, I don't get the price increase being this high.
Yeah, for sure.
And then asking for that for the controllers, too. Like,
I mean,
here's one of the worst controllers ever made.
People can do whatever they want. I have no need for this.
Absolutely. And let's be fair, you know why it's $50? Because
People
Nintendo likes
pay it.
money. And people will
Um,
pay it.
The people will pay it.
Yeah.
Well, that's just like, that's the thing with
Nintendo doesn't love you any more than Sony or Microsoft do.
but that's the thing with a lot of stuff is like I feel like especially with Nintendo people, not saying that video game players are like strong on their laurels, but Nintendo fans complain all the time and then they go and buy the thing anyways. So it's like,
Of course they do.
I don't, but like a lot of people still do. Like,
I'm one of those people. I buy all the shit. I don't care. But that's because I'm stupid. I've said that I've been stupid on this show since the beginning, since we started this show. I buy everything.
some things just don't need to be said.
Exactly. Like if you don't know that I'm stupid, then you ain't been paying attention.
But like, and I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong.
The only thing I'm not stupid enough to do, Anthony, and my wife keeps asking me this question like I would not pay the scalper $1,200 prices for these new consoles if I could not find
Oh
one.
God, no. Well, that's because there's a level between being stupid and being cheap. Those things can't combine at a certain point. Like, oh yeah, no, the cheap part of my brain just can't fathom handing over that money.
No, I couldn't pay $1,200 for a console. I struggle to pay that much for a high-end PC, man. All right, let's get a couple emails and a couple tweets to get out of here because we're already running late. This first email I've held on to because it's for you, Drew.
Okay.
It's from Daryl. He says, "Hello all. I just want to send a quick message to Drew. My mother also had COPD for the last 10 years or so. She couldn't move around much without oxygen. Long story short, she's passed away last Christmas. My father passed away last April, too. Damn.
Sorry, sir.
But she always was positive and enjoyed her time watching slasher horror movies and messing around on her iPad. But I feel your pain. There will always be regret about it if you should have spent more time with her or talked more. But you loved her. That's all that matters. And yes, I also still have my mom and dad as a contact in my phone. Be strong."
I am. I had a conversation with my wife last night about it.
Yeah.
It was, when we go into the oblivion talk.
Oh, yeah.
What happens after we die?
Do you have
I don't know.
Do you have the midnight mass conversation?
The midnight mass conversation, yeah. the long talk that takes on forever and
The whole episode is just sitting on the couch having that conversation?
yeah. No, we I don't know. I don't know what to think. I feel like this world is I don't know how I even talk about this. We're talking about this on a video game podcast, but I mean it's something that everybody goes through. Go for it.
Let me cut in for a second. You said you're having the Oblivion talk, and all I could think of was Oblivion quotes like, "I might swim more if it weren't for the slaughterfish, sharp teeth, and some carry disease."
That's right. Yeah, I love dogs, and it shows a person beating a dog. I don't know. Yeah, talking about death and what's beyond this, if there is anything. I don't know. And it's a scary thought whenever you start thinking about it, because then you think about, when the fuck will I die? And will I be ready? And it's a scary thought because nobody's going to escape it. And I don't know. I have those thoughts, and they've definitely been cropping up lately.
Sure, it happens when you lose somebody, for sure.
Yeah, because you just think about what were they going through? What were they thinking?
Yep.
I mean, I've been lucky enough to not have a lot of loss in my life, although the two people that I did know that have passed away. I mean, I've known people that have passed away, but not close, and no family, surprisingly. Although my grandfather both my grandfathers are really trying to test death every time. One that ran over himself with a lawnmower and the lawnmower only stopped because of steel toes, and the other one had open heart surgery and then was eating greasy food the day after he got out of the hospital. So sometimes it's just yeah, well,
I don't want to
live the way he wanted.
I don't want to make it super dark, but I did watch all 5 of the Final Destination movies this past week.
Oh God,
No.
That's not super dark. Those are fun.
Those are just dumb movies.
But I didn't engage kind of the last time because I was really surprised that we went off of a song topic. But I don't know. My only kind of response to like what goes beyond after is you know how some people think we are living in a simulation. There's a through line, I promise.
Sure, I've heard that theory.
Yeah.
Yeah, my response has always kind of been the same thing. What if you find out that we're in a simulation? What then?
I mean, you just
Do you
get
think?
pissed.
Well, I suppose you could have that response, but like, do you think you exist outside of a simulation? Because what if you're just part of it, right? And like the same kind of answer goes towards like what's beyond life. Don't worry about it. You're not a part of it right now. Whatever it is that goes on after, if there's something or if there's not, you're not a part of it right now. And maybe you won't be a part of it. Maybe if this is all fake, right? What if you're just playing a part of it? Like, enjoy the fact that you can right now.
Yeah.
And it's not say like, oh, every day's gotta be, you gotta treat life like a gift every day or whatever. All I'm saying is like, the only thing you can answer to is now. And thinking about the what ifs of getting to the end point is something that you should really only worry about when you're facing it down. And some of us don't have that opportunity to think about it. Maybe they are lucky. But it's just something where it's like I've always kind of questioned, like, even if you figured out what comes after death, you know, like what we move on to, if there is something. And I say that because I don't know. What says you're going to be part of whatever? And that's my kind of feeling about if we're in a simulation. Like, what if we find out we're in a simulation? It doesn't mean we're a part of whatever's outside of it. If we can even experience that ourselves, like, worry about the here and now. There's things to be done. And I realize that this sounds a little hypocritical, but again, I'm a person in progress, like most of us are. You know, treating people better, and you know, like, let's not worry about what's happening on Mars. Let's worry about what's happening here, and all those plenty of things. Like, there's a here and now to focus on, and like, if you focus on the what we don't know, you're only going to be disappointed at the end with how much you didn't experience.
Yeah. That's probably the best way to look at it.
Also, if you're listening to this conversation, make sure you keep it in mind the next time you argue about your plastic box.
Yeah.
It's not
Like,
important.
I'm not saying I'm a hedonist, but like, there is some point where that is the proper answer to everything, is that you should look for pleasure. Just, life is too miserable. Make joy for yourself. Like, there's nobody else that can do that for you. And obviously, we're a video game podcast, so if you're listening to this, you probably find joy in video games. Maybe you find joy in this podcast. Probably not from this conversation. But
This
you know,
conversation
that is-
does not spark joy, Anthony.
No, but I think there's there's something to take away from that is like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, it's miserable here. Like, I'm telling you now, like, as miserable it is talking about, like, fuck, I went off on about Metroid Dread, and I sounded pretty fucking miserable. But like, if that is the worst thing I have today, if that's the worst thing that I have to think about, life's
did
pretty
pretty
fucking good.
Yeah.
You know? Like, it's okay to be disappointed, but like, we have to take it into like effect of like, on the grand scheme of things, like, when we're upset about a video game, we're upset about somebody else's opinion, we're doing pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
And even no matter where you are, there is some positive to your life. Like, but you also have to realize that you have some control over that. If you think it's like, you know, like, you're in a bad spot, like, you need to be the first one to step up. Life won't just hand stuff to you. I've talked about this before, but when I started on this podcast, actually, when I started writing for the site, because it was a while after, I mean, I went through a mental breakdown. I contacted Drew and was like, hey, I'm in the hospital, so whatever review I was working on, I'm like, it's probably not gonna happen. And like, it was rough, and like, and while I was stuck there for a while, like, life has gotten better over time, and It's just you have to put in a little bit of effort, and you have to work to make yourself happy. Because like I don't think I could have kept going if I didn't, try to have control over the thing, like the moments where I could be feeling better. Like I'd play a video game I like. If I don't like it, like I'm moving on temporarily, and I'll come back to it if it's a review or something. Got to find pleasure in small things. Like what's at the end is not important to the now, because if that's all you're focusing on, that's the only thing, and it's kind of a depressing thought. And I'm king of depression, like I've claimed that crown. So yeah, I don't know. I realize this is a depressing conversation. I hope that somebody realizes like there's a good now to focus on.
All right.
Sorry, I get really fucking caught up in emotion. So
You good?
No, there's a really good quote from a song that probably no one has ever heard before. But the quote is, "I fear what I know, not what I wonder." And that's a pretty good quote. I feel like that. Don't worry about the stuff you don't know about. Worry about the stuff that you do.
All right. One more email. This one comes from Jeremy. He says, "Hey guys, I'm having a blast with Metroid Dread. It definitely demands some manual dexterity that I haven't practiced in a while, but I find I'm doing pretty well aside from a couple bosses that I needed to figure out the sequencing. Thank God for YouTube. It feels like a worthy success for and definitely my game of the year so far. Do you guys fancy yourselves 2D Metroid guys or Prime more your speed? Thank you for the show. Also, I killed my Twitter again, almost lasted a week."
That's a good question because I'll be honest with you. Metroid Prime and the 2D Metroids are both really, really good. On the same vein of that, 2D Castlevania usually beats out 3D Castlevanias.
I mean, there's only one good 3D Castlevania. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it, and that's Lord of Shadow.
it's not a hard take.
That's not a hard take, but the PS2 games weren't bad.
I did not like those. I did not like those.
Okay, well then he's wrong. The PS2 games, the problem with the PS2 games is that they had no budget.
Yeah.
Apparently they had a Game Boy Advance game budget to make a PS2 game.
I like to brag about
And
it
it
every
shows.
time this comes up, but I got to play the Dreamcast one.
Yes, I know.
The PS2, the second PS2 game was a better game.
Wasn't there
Curse of
3?
Darkness?
Curse
No.
of Darkness.
Lament of Innocence is the first one, which is the Belmont one, and then Curse of Darkness is the one where you're the devil summoner.
Okay, well maybe only one of them was on Xbox, right? Or were both of them on Xbox? I know at least
I
one
think
of them
Curse of
was
Dark-
on Xbox.
Curse of Darkness was on Xbox, I believe.
Okay,
Yeah,
and
I
that
don't
one was
think
on
Lament of
PS2
Innocence-
and Xbox. Okay.
The one with Isaac, which fun fact, he plays a major role in the Castlevania anime on Netflix.
Yeah, Lords of
it's-
Shadow is still one of my favorite Castlevania games, and I know that's blasphemy to some people, but goddamn, I love that game.
No, I don't care what anybody says. I've played a lot of Castlevania, and Castlevania is like Lords of Shadow is legit a great video game.
What one has Isaac in it?
Curse of Darkness.
Who is Isaac?
He was one of the. He was the villain.
Okay, got it. Because I say
Yeah.
Hector's the main character.
Hector's the main character, yes, but if you
That's
remember,
the reason why I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" That's right. His rival or whatever he is.
it was the other demon summoner.
Summoner.
Yeah. They those two are a big part of the anime. In fact, they go deep into that. They change the story a little bit in the anime, but Hector and Isaac are both very big players in the anime.
Yep.
What was the question again?
What do you prefer, 2D or 3D Metroid? And I'm kind of with Drew.
Yeah.
Even if, like, Metroid Prime is one of the best Metroid games ever made. Again, hot take from me.
No, it is.
2 is not as... 2 is
I
not
like
great. I mean, it's
I like
okay.
2.
But it's like when you put it side by side with 1, it's like not even a contest.
Yeah, no. Well, part of the issue is that the concept of 2 is the light and dark world of the same planet. And, like, that is neat, but 3 is multiple planets and it's more linear.
But that was Corruption, or which one was Corruption?
Yeah.
Corruption.
Okay.
2 is Echoes.
Metroid Prime 2 is Echoes, and then there's
Echoes, that's
Hunters.
right. Jesus, I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
I like. Yeah, it's a weird thing where it's like overall, I think you're gonna have a better time with the 2D Metroid. Obviously, there's more of them.
Absolutely. There's a ton of them.
Metroid
But,
Fusion is fantastic.
Metroid Fusion's fantastic. As much as I criticized it, Dread is still a good game. Zero Mission is a masterpiece in my opinion.
Yeah,
but
is.
that's exactly how you do a remake.
Yep.
And the Super Metroid is.
Super Metroid is my favorite 2D Metroid.
Weird,
I fucking love that game.
like it nails atmosphere. Probably, like it's so creepy and so uncomfortable. Like the when the lights come on in the first bit.
You know what the best
And,
thing
like-
about Super Metroid is that nobody ever talks about and it's not mentioned anywhere? When that fucking game boots up, it says Metroid 3. And nobody calls it Metroid 3. Nobody.
Super Metroid.
Yeah.
The fact, speaking of things that give you tutorials, and this is not a spoiler because the game is old and at this point I don't know what to tell you, but the way that the animals teach you the moves,
Yeah.
it's ingenious. It's ingenious. It's one of the smartest things in video. That's what I'm talking about when it's like there's like a way to tell people how to move forward. Like there's ways to give direction without giving direction.
Yeah, without dialogue.
Yeah, and that's it. They don't point. They are not outright telling you. It is for you to realize what is going on.
Mega Man X is one of the best ones. That opening
Mega
level.
Man X. Mega Man X does the genius thing of how you do the stages changes other stages.
Yep, but like that opening tutorial teaches you every mechanic in that game. It's kind of
Yeah.
genius.
And Mario, of course, being one of the biggest examples is stuff. So, but it's just like Super Metroid is this open experience, and then they show you how to do specific moves, and the save the animals thing is neat and all that stuff. But Metroid Prime, howeroid
Metroid Prime is so fucking good.
It's so good, dude.
Metroid Prime is
So
the,
fucking
one of
good.
Metroid Prime is like why I have issues with playing first-person shooters, where I just kind of now treat them as like, not to shit on Michael Bay, but a Michael Bay film. Like you kind of turn your brain off, bang, 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 explosions. Like you're gonna have a good time, but it's a blockbuster. And Metroid Prime tells you like shooters can be so much more. And I think there's only a couple of examples that do something similar. Chronicles of Riddick and The Darkness, which were both from Starbreeze, are very similar. They have this big world that you are slowly engaging with, and it feels real. But what Metroid Prime does so smart is like how beautiful it is. Like the rain and it's like, I remember it still stands out. The first, like when you're too close to like the flash of your beam and like you see her face reflect in the visor, and when you stand too close to a waterfall and like there's, water running down and stuff, and it's so fucking smart. Every little thing. There's a moment that I'm going to spoil in Metroid Prime, and I apologize in advance. It's not like a story moment or a boss. But there's a section where you get the X-ray visor, which shows you invisible objects. But if you notice it early, there are platforms that have rain hitting them. There's that much detail that the rain hits the platforms. And so you can see the platforms without the visor.
Yeah.
And it's just, oh, fuck, it is so, so smart. And,
Yep.
it's kind of, 2 is trying to do something too different. So it plays the same, but they want you to kind of explore these two worlds in tandem. And most video games that do that, it just never feels all that great. Like, even something that does very, very similar, Silent Hill, it never expects you to do them in tandem, right? It's like you do one or the other. Like you're going through one, it changes to the other. That's kind of it. Um, Fuck yeah! It like Metroid Prime is a masterpiece. Um, and I'm gonna go defense, even though I don't think it's like nearly the best Metroid game. Metroid Prime Hunters does a really good job of kind of matching that atmosphere. The game is nowhere near as in depth. You're not doing the same amount of puzzle solving. You're not scanning the environment for all the information. It's a bunch of different planets, like small areas on different planets and spaceships and stuff. So you never have that full kind of like, I know exactly where to go to get to this other portion of the map because none of the maps are that big. But here's a DS game, and you're going through these areas, and you have to go through multiple times, so you start to learn them. And you'll be playing a map, and one of the other hunters shows up, and they all have characteristics built into the way they fight, rather than like because they do have a backstory, but they're not really introduced in the game. There's really no dialogue, and every time you run into them, the game like ups its challenge a bit because you feel like you're fighting against someone that's equally matched, which is never really the case with Metroid. Like you never feel like you're either being overpowered or you're just destroying some sort of living creature on a planet. And here's other bounty hunters fighting for these keys to this prison where this ultimate weapon is and stuff. And I love that game because it does that. Unfortunately, you fight like two bosses that aren't other bounty hunters, which kind of sucks. There's like the tower, and then there's the ball, and that's it until the very end of the game. But that's a really overlooked title. Is it gonna beat Super Metroid or Zero Mission or Fusion or even Dread necessarily? Not particularly, because it just isn't as like engaging. But I do think there's a lot there to be enjoyed that a lot of people have overlooked. Don't play Federation Force.
I have to point out because I'm a champion. When you want to Dread, when you want to talk about Dread, anytime you're in an area with the clone Samus walking around, scared the living crap out of me.
Oh, and Fusion, yeah.
Yeah, because if it ever sees you, it just breaks off running after you, and if it touches you, dead instantly. And I was like, oh god, because and that's the crazy thing. This was a Game Boy Advance title.
Yeah, it was like a launch Game Boy Advance title.
It was insane the way they use music. With the copy looking for you, the music stopped and it was just footsteps, and it was just it. Like, how can you have me creeped out while I'm holding a little Game Boy Advance in my hands?
And I'm gonna
great job with that.
And you know what? I wasn't honest with it. I didn't bring it up much, but I should have. That is one thing that Metroid Dread does really well. With the Emmys, except for one, there is this good sense of tension and like hiding. And earlier it works a bit better because as you go further on, you're a little bit more like equipped to handle like running away from them. But the first couple times, man, it's like, oh yeah, this is the shit. Like this reminds me of the best parts of Metroid Fusion.
Yeah.
I still don't think we've answered his question.
I can't decide because well, I understand making choice. I think Metroid Prime is my favorite, but if
there's too many 2D games for it not to be the pick because there's so many good ones. Whereas with Metroid Prime, like Prime is the pinnacle.
Like Prime, and then I go Hunters, and I can skip 2 and 3 and other M.
Yeah, I would probably have to lean to 2D. I just would, even though Prime is neck and neck with Super Metroid as my favorite of all time.
I think let me put it this way. I think the character designs in Super Metroid are some of the monster designs are some of the best. Too. Yep. Like nothing is. You fight a giant pile of rocks in Prime, and while it's a neat boss, it's a giant pile of rocks. Like, it's hard to defend that against like Fantoon with a giant eye and stuff, or Clawmire, the fucking little dragon thing that you push into the lava.
All right, let's do these tweets and get out of here because we are. Whew.
Yeah.
Mookie says, last weekend I played Back for Blood and it's very good. I think it's tougher than Left 4 Dead 2, and with the help of the cards, it encourages me to not play it alone, and the cards will require the proper team planning in order to get through. I know there are some who didn't like the game, and personally don't care because I'm actually having fun. So right now, I'm trying to gather my old friends that I played Left 4 Dead 2 with, and hope that I can team up with them. Otherwise, I really can't find myself playing it alone. I also played Riftbreaker, and I suppose that this game is amazing and can get tough over time if you like tower defense games like Sanctum 1 and 2, but on a top-down view and single player, then you guys should try this game out. I talked about that game at the beginning. I think it's very good.
There you go.
Seamus says, first time, long time, just wanted to say Metroid Dread is amazing. Has an atmosphere that reminds me of Bioshock in some ways. Animation, sound design, graphics, it's all top tier. Play this game. Oh, we've played this game.
Going back to Back for Blood, I feel like the only criticism I've really heard is the single player, like, lack of progression. Which,
yeah, that's a big thing.
For multiplayer, like, if it could have not had it, and I feel like people wouldn't be complaining about it. It's not my type of game, so obviously it's, like, not gonna be for me, but, like, when that's the only complaint, I'm like, I feel like that's done pretty well. Like, for the major part, I should say. Like, obviously there's been some technical issues, but
I do feel like Brad Shoemaker nailed it when he said this is the perfect, like, template for a Game Pass game. Like, this is the most Game Pass-ass game I've ever seen. Like, it fits that perfectly. So, I don't think people will be talking about Back for Blood in November or December. Just my thought. OG Show says Nintendo expansion pack, and then he's laughing emoji. Who is this for? And honestly, I feel Kotaku on this one. Every Nintendo diehard has these games already, so I can't understand why anybody would pay for such a limited catalog. The only thing this has done is made Game Pass seem like an even better deal.
For sure, I feel like using Kotaku is one of those, like, I don't know, they have not. It feels like with Kotaku's current coverage, it feels like they just don't want to pay for games.
Yeah, I mean, they should.
Metroid Dread is running on an emulator just fine. 2 days after release, man. I'm not a huge fan of the game, but it's still shitty as fuck.
I think it's funny that Kotaku says that because most people be like, well, don't they get free games? I'm like, well, they've probably pissed off enough companies. They don't get a lot of free games.
Aren't they the ones that pissed off Ubisoft and are blacklisted?
Yeah,
for, like,
Ubisoft hasn't
like,
sent them anything in like 10 years or something.
But that's what I mean. Like, I feel like they're just burning all the bridges.
I mean, that's how you get them clicks, dog. He also says the Batman movie looks amazing. DC has finally washed away any doubt they had with Robert Pattinson. He says Patterson, but it's Pattinson, I think, right?
It is. Yeah. It's Pattinson.
Okay. Yeah,
it's an easy mistake because, like, if you've never seen it spelled, it sounds like Patterson. So I'm not.
I'm down for that movie. I'll watch that movie. I think DC's all of their slate of movies coming up. I'm excited for. Like, Aquaman earned the right to be excited for the sequel. I like Ezra Miller as the Flash, and who can not love having Keaton in the goddamn movie? And the Batman looks really good.
Yeah. Don't forget Black Adam.
Black Adam looks really cool, although, man, can The Rock get any bigger?
I guess.
Like, you mean size-wise?
Yeah, like, the dude is just
I know, he's
so fucking huge, man.
Yeah,
he's
massive.
Isn't he, like, getting up to 60? Somewhere around there?
No.
I'm pretty sure he's relatively old, Drew.
He's 50.
Yeah,
He's 49 years old right now.
Oh, okay. I thought he was in his 50s.
No.
Not yet.
He was super young when he went to the WWE.
Clearly. Yeah. But yeah, I like him in about anything, so him being in a DC movie. I saw, like...
Him being a villain, though?
Did you see who was playing Hawkman?
Nuh-uh.
Do you remember Supernatural, the last episode where they had the fight in the town between all the psychic kids? when
What?
the cracked bell and Azazel was having the final battle between all the blood kids, that Sam is a part of.
Yes.
The soldier guy is playing Hawkman.
The soldier guy.
The one that kills Sam.
Yeah.
He's playing Hawkman.
Okay.
So, and also Atom Smasher is in the movie, which I did not know.
Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate.
Yeah, Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate is like the best casting I've seen from DC in a long time.
I really think so too. I can't wait to see that. Hopefully he's got a pretty big part.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know which Dr. Fate he's playing.
I don't know. I don't know if he's just doing the voice, like the mask.
There's been there's the one where I don't remember what animated movie, but it was it's Dr. Fate is not necessarily as much of a character as it is a position.
Yeah, it's the kind of the mask takes over the person. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll be curious to know how that works out.
I mean, it's Pierce Brosnan, so it doesn't really matter which one he's playing. It's going to be awesome. Finally,
God, I hope he sings. I'm kidding. I love Mamma Mia, but every time Pierce Brosnan opens his mouth, it's like, oh God, that's right, he can't sing.
Last tweet says, I tried playing Back 4 Blood with friendly fire on a harder mode. The game is almost XCOM impossible.
Yeah, no, especially with the 3 people I was playing with.
Who wants to play with friendly fire on? I still don't understand that logic.
I mean, there's people who want that challenge, but holy crap, my guys were machine gunning me in the back.
I don't like stress. So I think it's just me getting older. I don't necessarily need a challenge. But I just like to enjoy what I'm doing, and when something's stupid hard, it just frustrates the piss out of me. I don't know. And I certainly don't want that in my multiplayer games, which is, what we were talking about with Overwatch. It's that feels like that game has just gotten so lopsided at this point that it's just not fun. And when I'm not having fun, I immediately quit.
Yeah, just turn it off. I'll tell you one thing, though. Back 4 Blood, they really ramp up the special infected. I mean, it was every probably 30 seconds we had another special infected coming after us. And those guys, some of them are pretty easy to take down. Some of them are.
The AI,
No, go ahead.
The AI director was pissed at you.
Obviously, it was very mad at me. And when a special infected shows up, me and my teammates just go, oh. Yeah, just shoot everywhere. So if you have friendly fire on, yeah.
Yeah, no, I've never understood the want for friendly fire, because all friendly fire brings memories to me is assholes in Call of Duty shooting me in the back when we spawn.
Yeah.
Or Rainbow Six.
Whenever we leave a guy, because me and you get on a four-wheel and drive off.
Little old PUBG dude just shot me right in the face, and Drew's just like, well, fuck it, I'm leaving.
Yep.
What kills me is I still finished that game with more kills and damage than both y'all.
Oh, whatever. I survived longer.
Yeah, good for you.
Mm-hmm.
You still didn't win. You didn't get a chicken dinner.
I don't want a chicken dinner. I just wanted to get the quest done. It was funny, though.
It was very fun. I laughed as soon as I fell off the bike. I was like, well, I guess that's my PUBG for the year.
No, we'll do it next month because I love going back to that friggin' game.
God damn. If I see that or the Black Desert Quest one more time, I'm going to fucking shoot myself in the face. Oh my God, with these fucking repeating quests. Man, they pulled that Max and the Curse of the Brotherhood quest out of nowhere a couple weeks ago, and I was like, dude, I have not played this game since 2014.
Yep.
Who the fuck wants to play Max and the Curse of the Brotherhood in 2021?
I don't know.
Fuck.
But, yeah, it was there.
How is that game still on Game Pass?
Is it made by Microsoft?
No, it's not at all.
I don't know.
Anyway, if you want to tweet us at N4G Podcast, you can follow us on Twitter. Drew's a DMF here. Anthony's a complacent robot. I am at ZTGD. You can follow the site at ZTGD Content and send us emails to podcasts at ZTGD.com. Phoenix Down running Diablo 2 when Drew can get connected to the server.
I was about to say, maybe there'll be an episode this week. I mean, I'm only half 3, and past 2 days I haven't been able to play.
That's awesome. I love server-side games. It's such a cool feature. Whew. This is a long show. We all hope you stuck around to the end and enjoyed it, which I'm sure you didn't. But those of you who are still here, hey, top aces, baby. We'll be back next week to talk more video game. What is the date on the show next week? I might be able to talk about the game I've been playing next week. I think the embargo's up on that week. I gotta be careful what I say. But unless anybody's anything else, we're gonna peace out, Birches.
Alrighty. And it goes something like this.
Epic fail. Welcome to the N4G podcast. $0.
This is going to be a very interesting episode.
Captain Con.
Greetings, programs. I got lost trying to find my way to the secret underground N4G Radio lair.
The Wombat. And
Always looking angry.
Killer Wolverine. Play games, not consoles. No fanboys allowed.
And then I killed the dragon. 8.0.
Killed the dragon.